After years of grinding, every skill maxed, every quest complete, I did what anyone else would do. Start an Iron Man. The Iron Man journey is ongoing, and quite frankly, never ending. But that account has reached horizons this one never did. At that point, is this account really a main? This isn't a fresh start, this is a comeback story. Welcome to Main Character Energy. It is time. Rising from the metaphorical ashes, we have returned to our main normal account. First things first, let's pull the GP we have stashed away in the Grand Exchange. Yes, the Grand Exchange and not the bank. And that's because my bank is full. Being free to play, we only have 460 slots, but I have 698 items in my bank, so I couldn't even put my GP back in. Over the years, I've still used my main account to split out raid items, GP, whenever I pull anything on the iron, and I need to split out. So without further ado, let's buy one bond. We're just going to do one bond for now. Oh my goodness, 15.3 mil. Alright, we'll be taking that. At least when I buy it, I don't have to convert it into a tradable bond. So we're just going to redeem the one bond for now. Although we're likely gonna be playing for more than just 14 days, but one bond to get us started with. You can see that we have 1.4 bill. Quite a lot of GP, but at the same time, not a lot of GP. Because, well, we don't have a twisted bow, and we need to get one back. I actually can't afford a twisted bow right now. At this point in time, the twisted bow is worth 1.55 bill. Somewhere around there. So we're actually going to need to make some GP. Or at the very least, sell some items. I think that's what we're going to do, actually. We're going to sell some items to make sure we can get our twisted bow and have our 3 mega rares. Bond redeemed. We are now on a members world, and our first order of business is finding something to sell so that we can afford a twisted bow. Honestly, I hate selling items, but you know, I think right now it's for the best considering we lack one of the mega rares. I had to get rid of my twisted bow because, well, a long time ago I pulled a second scythe on my Iron Man, and instead of dropping the scythe over, I just split it out because these days I play 2 GIM accounts at once. Right now we're just taking a little bit of a break from that grind, the Iron Man grind, and obviously we've returned to the main account. We have a lot of things to do and we're just getting started. Alright, we are dumping a whole bunch of items. First things first, Spectral Spirit Shield, goodbye for now. I will buy you back one day. Dragon Warhammer, goodbye for now. I will buy you back one day. Ancient God Sword. Dragon Fire Ward. Wow, the Dragon Warhammer is not even insta-selling. That is tragic. Okay, that is gone too. That brings us up to 1566. 1.5 bill. Can we buy a twisted bow now? Oh, okay. We don't have enough GP. Let's find something else to sell. Dragon Hunter crossbow. Temporarily part ways with you. Now we can buy the twisted bow, surely. There it is. Twisted bow reacquired. And actually, let's make sure we fix our bank. We're going to have to insert the twisted bow right here. First order of business, we are going to be doing some trio challenge mode Chambers of Xerix. Now I'm struggling the gear here, and this is just a funny occurrence, funny thing here. I'm struggling the gear on my main because all my inventory setups, my presets, are from my Iron Man, but my Iron Man is actually more geared than my main account. There's a long list of items that we don't have on this account that we do have on the Iron, and that makes gearing up so much harder. For one thing, we don't have Oathplate, we don't have anything from Yama, and we don't have anything from Mocha. And beyond that, there's a few key differences. We don't have the Twisted Ancestral kits on this account either, whereas we do have them on the Iron. So I had to search up the Ancestral Robe set because it didn't show up in the inventory setup. Likewise, with the Scythe, we have the Holy version on this account, whereas on the Iron, we have the Sanguine one, the Blood one. And currently we just have 30 mil GP to our name after repurchasing the Twisted Bow, so we can't afford any of these upgrades. Alright, let's get started here. I don't even have a chugging barrel on this account. It's embarrassing, really. Alright, am I going to get the privilege of getting an overload? It's a different perspective because I'm a main now, you know, I'm a dirty main. Oh my god, they actually avenged me. That's right, that can happen now. Because of all the new gear and all the meta shifts, the available gear I do have, you look at me and you can tell I just haven't logged on to this account in a long time. On this account, I do have a lot of Chambers KC. I have about 800 to 900 regular Chambers KC, but I don't have very much. But as I was saying, I don't have a lot of CM KC, so none of my ancestral pieces are kitted. I lost the overload privilege. Oh, why am I scabbing? I should make them scab for me. I gotta remember how to play a main. I gotta remember. Oh my god, I can use shared. Oh wow, yeah. Oh my god, I'm a dirty main and I can use shared. This is amazing. They're dropping me overloads. Oh my goodness. Playing a main has broke my brain. I don't know what's going on. Oh my. I don't know what's going on. On the bright side, I'm using dragon arrows freely. Oh my god, he made vials for me and shared. I don't know what my scythe looks like. It doesn't look like how it normally does. I'm confused. I'm very confused. First raid back on this account. Surprisingly, not a new PB. I thought that would have been free. Okay, we got an elite clue scroll. Whole bunch of ores. You know what? Instead of all of these ores sitting in my bank, this is going to go into the GE. Or some GP. That was, I mean, that was only 340k though. Hey, where's the purple? Unfortunate. 700k though. 2 challenge modes in. This is what our collection log looks like on this account. Much less interesting than on Wait For It. But we still pulled some mega rares. We got the Twisted Bow, which funny story about the Twisted Bow pull actually. I spent over a year potting nothing but chambers on the Iron Man in my quest to get a Twisted Bow as my first mega rare on that account. Unfortunately, over a year, I didn't get the Twisted Bow and I ultimately started burning out on Iron Man. And I played my main once again. And then on the very first day where I started playing the main again, lo and behold, I pulled a Twisted Bow. And I called it too. I knew it was going to happen. And you know what? This stint on the main, I wouldn't be surprised if I pulled the omelet where I actually need it on the Iron Man. And ironically enough, on this account, I don't have the metamorphic dust, whereas on the Iron Man, I have 7 of those bad boys. Anyways, we are 145 CMs in on this account and no kit. So I guess I'm pretty unlucky on kits on both accounts. We're actually closing in on 2, or I should say closing in on rate for 2 kits, but we have none. I believe these things are 1 in 75. For context, on the Iron Man, we are well over 1200 CMs completed, but we only have 7 kits on that account. Not that it really matters after 3, but it's just the point about being dry on them. No PB, 10 Quorum Seeds, 21 Runite Ore, 247k. Okay, a new PB on this account. Where are the purples though? Well, we did 5 trio CMs. Unfortunately, no purples. We did get a new PB though. Not an overall PB between accounts, as I actually flexed the Iron Man's PB right there, 2328. But we got ourselves a 2349. Where are the purples? Where are the kits? Where's anything? 650k though. Oh my god, a purple. A deck scroll. That is worth 39 mil. I think it went up. Nice, we made some money. This was the 7th CM today, trio CM, so we finally got a purple. And I believe that is actually purple number 42 on this account. And we have 91 on the other account. That was also our 150th CM, so we are now 2x dry on a Twisted Ancestral Color Kit. Oh man, it's a long time since I've done this. to the Grand Exchange, offer up the purple we just got. Insta sells for 37.9 mil. Alright. The team raids are done for today, but I decided I'm going to go for some solo CMs. But before I do that, let me just hit the Grand Exchange real quick and get a chugging barrel. I don't know how much this costs. Obviously, on an Iron Man, I'm going to have to do it myself at the mixology lab, but looks like it's about 6.1 mil. You know what? That's not too bad, honestly. Alright, we've sorted out a solo CM setup here. Let's pot up and get started. While we send the solo CM, I'm going to disclose my thoughts on what exactly our game plan is on this account. Obviously, with the little intro clip that we made, our goal is to, well, catch back up to our Iron Man in a sense. Our ultimate goal, I would say, is to get Radiant Oathplate. And honestly, that's the main motivation for playing this account again. I want to make sure I get Radiant Oathplate and then hop back on to the Iron Man and get Radiant Oathplate there. But when I set out to do that, I realized I had a lot of things I needed to do first. For one thing, this account doesn't even have Wild Gothic Sleeps done. And obviously you need to do that for the Tormented Synapses, therefore the Emberlight, the Purging Staff, and the Scorching Bow. So quest-wise, we need to do that. And then, oh, I just ate a 50 there. That's unfortunate. And then beyond questing, we're also missing a lot of items on here. The first thing we did was buy back a T-Bow, which put us back 1.5 bill, 1.6 bill if you include the bond and maybe buying some supplies and stuff. So yeah, we need to make a lot of GP, because not only will we have to do Wild Gothic Sleeps, but then we're going to have to buy the Synapses, we're going to have to buy the contracts for Radiant Oathplate, and obviously on that grind we're going to be dying quite a bit. It's going to be a learning process. The bosses are going to be tough, the contracts are going to be tough. So yeah, we need a lot of GP. Along the way, while I make GP, I'm probably going to do other things. For example, I'm in Chambers right now, and I actually need to get Twisted Kits for my Ancestral. And then if the opportunity arises, I would also like to get some hard mode top kits for this account. I would much prefer the Blood Scythe rather than the Holy Kit Scythe. Along the way, we might also find ourselves re-obtaining Master Combat achievements on this account. We are Master Combat on the Iron Man, and once upon a time, we were Master Combat on this account. With all the updates that we've missed out on this account, we are no longer Master Tier. I'm actually not sure what my solo CMPB is on this account. Let's find out. The command is PB Cox 1? No, Cox CM 1. 3338, okay. That's actually pretty fast considering I haven't done a solo CM on this account in absolute ages. Yeah, it's actually quite fast. Especially considering that, I'm going to add some context here. I never do any tightrope skips or anything like that. I just full prep, do the raid as is. So in that sense, a 33-minute raid. Pre-quality of life changes at Chambers, no less. A 33-38 is pretty fast. So yeah, you see right here as we're prepping for Ice Demon, I have an Arc Light, not even an Ember Light. You know, I didn't actually check how many Ancient Shards I have. I gotta imagine I have plenty though. But if we end up not having much available, I'm gonna have to just do Ice Demon the OG way while I'm doing CMs. At least until I do Wild Gothic Sleeps and obtain a Tormented Synapse. But yeah, to, I guess, summarize or double back on what I was saying earlier, the ultimate goal rebonding this account and gearing it back up is to get Radiant Oathplate. And then shortly afterwards, ideally, I would be farming contracts on the Iron Man in the meantime, and then I'll be ready for that on the Iron Man. I pretty much employed the same strategy back when Blood Torva was a thing. I first did it on the main account, and then when my Iron Man was finally in the position to do so, I Got Blood Torva on the Iron Man as well. Okay, I think it's safe to say that even though we don't have the Emberlight, the Arclight that's still the next best thing. With Ice Demon being actually weak to Demon Bane stuff now. You know, I was expecting to get a new solo CMPB on this account, but with the 3338, I might not, to be honest. But yeah, doing CMs is actually knocking out multiple things at once here, right? I'm going to be making GP. The nice thing about playing the main is I'm going to be making GP whether or not I pull purples. Obviously, the purples are where the real money is, but hey, you know, sometimes soloing CMs, even without a purple, you can make like 1 mil per run. We're just on day 1 of rebonding and playing the main again, so we got roped into some CM, so I'm just keeping with the theme right now. But I think priority number 1 is honestly to do while Guthic sleeps. So I think in this old Torva setup, you do want to put your sight on accurate for Vanguards and Tecton. And you know, the Bellator probably is the better pick too. It's weird because with the items I have on this account, I kind of have to think back about what the meta was and not what it currently is. So we may have made a few minor mistakes with our setup here. For one thing, I definitely didn't used to bring the Mage's Ring in. I would bring Bellator Lightbear combo, but right now we're rocking the Ultor Mage's combo. But hey, you know, we're not speed running or anything right now. We're just trying to make some money and get some twisted kits. So despite being a main, because of our current GP situation, we might actually just end up Iron Manning some of the items we need. I think it'd be pretty interesting perhaps to try out solo Yama and get ourselves Oathplate. Just floating that idea out there. I'm not necessarily going to do that, but it could be something we could consider. We are going to have to do some Yama regardless anyways, whether we buy the Oathplate or earn it ourselves, because we do need double death charge from there. So with potentially Iron Manning earning ourselves the Yama loot, we could also consider that for Mocha as well. And you know what? We spoke about trying to re-obtain Master Tier CAs. Well, we're going to have to get the CAs done from those bosses anyways. That would help our case getting Master CAs. This situation I'm in is pretty unique, I would say. My Iron Man is actually better geared than my main account. And just due to the nature of when I swapped over from playing a main to a Iron Man, and all the time I've put into the Iron Man rather than this account, even if the accounts had identical gear, the Iron Man, at this point, you know, all the KCs are there. Like, I'm well on my way to 2k raid capes. Collection log is a bit more filled out at all the bosses. I really did switch over to playing Iron Man at a pretty early time. The only things I really did as a main account was a whole bunch of Zulrah. I did learn the solo chambers, regular though, not challenge mode. And I maxed account and ultimately got an Infernal Cape. And when I did get the Infernal Cape, that was pretty much the exact moment when I was like, well, time to move on. Time to play Iron Man. So in the grand scheme of things, I really didn't experience playing Mainscape that much. Well, I wasn't exactly prepared for this, but... oh, I think we just did it. Nice. Yeah, I was not prepared to teleport skip, but... we did it. Our ZCB missed. That is tragic. Alright, on our way to Ulm. Okay, in we go. Unfortunately, with the lack of Avernic treads, we have a weird 9-way switch. But hey, this is how it was. I believe without the Confliction Gauntlets and the Avernic treads, we're actually losing out on like 3 mage max hits. Pretty significant. Okay, well, we hit a 71 right there and it was not a max hit, so I think I might be correct. That 72 is the max hit. 1 more hit. Okay. 5 HP left. 1 more hit. Or the thrall might even finish it. All right. 34-19. Yeah, that just goes to show, you know, that was a very, very casual run, and we were only about 30 seconds off, 40 seconds off from our previous PB that we got a long, long time ago. And as I said earlier, even when you don't get a purple, as a main, looking at the regular loot, this was 845k, not too bad. Well, that's going to do it for the opening episode to this new series. By the end of the series, I hope to have Radiant Oathplate, but we'll see what we get up to along the journey. Today in this video, we're completing Defender of Varrock, followed by While Guthix Sleeps. The Grandmaster quest, While Guthix Sleeps, gives us access to Tormented Synapses, and these synapses will ultimately turn into Demon-Bane weapons, the likes of the Emberlight, the Scorching Bow, and the Purging Staff, which most, if not all 3 of the items are required in our progress to our ultimate goal, Radiant Oathplate. Let's get started. As I said, the first order of business is Defender of Varrock, so let's get started on the quest. I do have the trusty quest helper in the Runelight plugins to help me out here. Defender of Varrock should be a nice and quick quest. For Iron Man, this is a pretty crucial quest, pretty pivotal quest in your account progression, as this is what gives you access to the Zombie Axe. A very, very good early to mid game weapon that will get you through a whole bunch of Slayer, and it's going to be a good weapon for both Slash and Crush. For us, it's going to be irrelevant though. Maybe we could get one to bring into the wilderness if we ever decide to do wilderness content. Probably not. Especially not on the main. No reason to, really. But yeah, officially starting Defender of Varrock here. We'll just be flying around a few areas. Actually, if I remember right, you know, this is probably the 3rd or 4th time I'm doing this quest now. Yeah, this guy's just going to follow me. We're going to do some detective work here, inspecting plants and whatnot, following footprints that just magically appeared, actually. So for this quest, I pretty much have everything I already need in my inventory and equipped. The Virtus and all this mage gear is honestly unnecessary, but if you didn't know, you do want to be in mage gear to burst or barrage the armored zombies. That's the best way of getting your zombie axe. We're going to have to fight a couple of those said armored zombies, so that's why we're in our mage gear, but honestly, this is overkill. And then in our inventory, we have a little bit of food, which we probably won't need. Prayer pots just in case. And then we do need a pickaxe for some reason. I'm not sure why. I guess we'll find out. So just now you saw me climb down the ladder into this cavern. As part of the quest, we peered over this balcony over here and we had a little bit of a cutscene. But afterwards, we're in this cavern moving around freely. And you can see in the background, there are some armored zombies already. Now, this is the optimal time for Iron Man, or anybody just wanting to get the Zombie Axe collection log, to farm the armored zombies now. This is because currently, in the middle of the quest, we are in an instance. So no one else is going to come down and take your spot, or you won't have to world hop to find a free world. As long as you're in the middle of the quest, this is an instance area. You can farm the armored zombies to your heart's content and get yourself a Zombie Axe. And as a side note, I know I'm decked out in some mage gear here, but it's actually more worthwhile, especially for you Iron Men out there, to conserve your prayer by wearing some prayer gear. Armored zombies don't have a lot of magic defense, so even if you wear proselyte or initiate or even some monk robes or something, that'll conserve your prayer and you'll still do a decent amount of damage to the armored zombies. Well, this isn't my Iron Man series, so let's cut all of that and let's just get going with the quest. Okay, one more little note. If you progress slightly further into the quest and into the cavern, there are more spawns. So you might want to do that first, and then you'll have access to several different clumps of the armored zombies so that you can farm them quicker instead of standing around and waiting for them to respawn. Switching over from playing the Iron Man to the main, well, over the years, I did try to keep most things similar on both accounts so that, you know, when I hop back and forth between the accounts, there isn't too much to adjust. For example, the layout of the house is mostly the same. The spellbook altar is in this room right here. I orientated the same. You know, we're facing north right now. We got the ornate pool right here. And to the south is the portal nexus. But then I accessed the portal nexus, and all these shortcut keys are entirely different. The quest has led us into Camdozo. Honestly, This place is really cool looking. I like the color scheme and everything. Almost done with the quest here. Just have to talk to a few more NPCs at Varrock Castle. Decided to swap out of my Virtus and into Graceful though. And on this account, my Graceful outfit is this brown looking one. I believe this is a League reward. Let me know what you guys think about this particular Graceful outfit. Do you like it? Ah, yes. Varrock Castle is under attack. A zombie invasion. And we're doing nothing about it. We're just running on through, talking to some fellas, and then they're gonna take care of it, not us. Another little cutscene, talking to this Captain Roven guy here, and this should be the conclusion of the quest. There we go. Congratulations, you have completed Defender of Varrock. 2 quest points, access to I don't know how to pronounce it. Zemorigal. Probably just butchered that. The base access, I believe that's where you get the zombie axe. A little bit of smithing and hunter EXP. And we're up to 306 quest points. You know, despite not having played this account for a while, we're not too far off on recapturing the quest cape. A lot of these quests are pretty short, and you can see actually at a glance that most of these are just Varlamore related quests. With Defender of Varrock over and done with now, we can now move on to the more important quest, While Guthix Sleeps. This one's going to give us access to Tormented Demons and the Tormented Synapse. This one is a Grandmastered quest, so there's a lot more to it. It's going to take us a little bit longer, and there are multiple fight encounters. Officially starting While Guthix Sleeps now. And this quest starts out pretty hot. You'll see in just a second. So we're going to talk to this NPC up here, upstairs. We're just having a nice conversation, yada, yada, yada. And then out of nowhere, assassins. And this fight is actually pretty interesting. You got one guy that's going to range you. Well, I don't quite remember how this goes. Oh, there we go. Oh, okay. Perfect example right there. I 100% did that on purpose. Basically, you're going to be protecting range dealing with this ranger, but then he exclaims, now you're going to protect against range from that projectile, but then instantly afterwards, the second assassin shows up and DDS specs you. Are we about to fail this? May have been focusing on the wrong NPC. Oh, slow on that skill issue. I brought some pots with me and I forgot to even use my pot. Alright, surely this guy stays alive, right? Oh, he's got some food. Okay, well, we got rid of the melee, so even though he sent that projectile, you're on your own, buddy. Alright, so that's just first of a few more PvM encounters. Well, those weren't exactly monsters, the M in PvM. So this is the Iron Man brain in me. I need a log for this next step, and instead of teleporting the GE to buy one, I'm just going to chop one real quick. Speaking of Iron Man, just making a little cameo on said Iron Man. You know I gotta be doing something in the background while I'm playing on the main, so I am fishing some anglers. Anyways, back to the While Guthix Sleeps progress. During this quest, you actually get a new pet. These are the most non-elite looking elite Khazard guards I've ever seen. They don't even have full helms. I'm not even sure they're wearing any, like, pants. Mistakes were made. I forgot to bring any weapons to fight these guys just outside MacGruber's Woods. Now the question is, do I spend the time to just kick this guy, or should I TP out? Oh my god, a max hit of 11? Okay, I think I should TP out though, realistically. Oh, and before I head back, I need to pick up a few things, or just one thing for right now actually. A lantern lens. Oh my goodness, what is this concept? We're using the Grand Exchange just to get quest items instead of having to craft them ourselves. Okay, we're being scammed right now. How much does this cost? Lantern lens. 100 GP? Who's gonna merge me? Okay, it costs 25 GP. Alright, so I was making my way back to Falador Castle as part of the quest or whatnot, but I clicked into the castle and I went to go AFK. My character ended up here, and then I discovered this crypt. Now this thing has probably been here for ages, since the beginning of time perhaps, who knows, but I never realize this. Oh, this is Death's office. Okay, this makes sense because Falador Castle is a respawn point. Wow, I have never noticed this. Alright, we're looking real goofy, we're wearing very questionable combinations of gear, and our spellbook is lit up like a Christmas tree, but for good reason. We're going to be doing multiple steps for the next few parts of the quest, and I'm just trying to do everything all at once without leaving. So we're going to be needing to cast a lot of different spells. We'll get into that later. And I also need the Iron Chain Body and Bronze Med Helm as my disguise to get into the Black Knight's fortress. For quests, anytime you need a disguise to get access to a place, it's usually pretty funny. I get it like a little chuckle out of it because, for example, here at Black Knight Fortress, we need the Iron Chain Body and Bronze Med Helm. But at the same time, we're also wearing all this other gear. And, you know, to these fortress guards, they're like, yeah, whatever, you know, you got the Bronze Med Helm, Iron Chain Body, checks out, and just completely disregards everything else. Reason number one, we need all these different spells. We got a charge orb on this tile just to gain access into some secret cavern here. We got a beeline past all of these guards. Not looking too great here, actually. And this is probably going to be the reason why I had to TP out afterwards. Despite my best efforts to just do this all in one trip, but we're taking heavy damage here. Yeah, we made it to the end, to the doorway, and we used, like, most of our food, actually. Once we made it through the doorway, we had to fight some of these Black Knights here, Elite Black Knights, to get ourselves a set of the Elite Black Armor. This is actually pretty comparable prayer gear to Proselyte, and it's only outclassed by the Sunfire gear from Colosseum. So we're prepping for a boss fight here, and unfortunately I did have to TP out, but if you follow the quest helper, when you TP out and make it back to the cavern, there is a doorway that is a shortcut. So previously I mentioned having the need to have all these runes in my inventory, spellbook lit up like a Christmas tree, and that's for this next fight encounter. I guess the best way is to simply just hop in and let's fight this boss. So we're going to be protecting Mage here and using Mage against Herak because he protects range and melee. So Mage is the only option here. We do take some chip damage, unfortunately, the good old chip damage. So all this food is really necessary. There's certain specials, so it summons a fireball at us. We're going to have to cast a Water Surge to get rid of that. And then back on to Herak himself. He's going to do several of those projectile attacks, and they're going to be different elements. So for an earth spell, you're going to want to use an air spell. Fire spell, we use a water spell. Water spell, we use a fire. You know, the 4 elements. And then there's also this, Nimbleness. We're going to want to cast Bind on this Agile Warrior. And then deal with them. There's going to be another warrior as well. That's going to be Strength, and I believe we have to cast Weaken on that warrior. We're doing good DPS here, so I'm curious to see if we're actually going to end up dealing with all the mechanics. Because yes, there are even more mechanics. Okay, there we go. So here we have to telegrab this lit explosive and then low alch it. That way we eliminate the threat. Otherwise, it's going to explode and deal an absolute ton of damage. Something I should have done is actually swap into my Ancestral for better DPS. I was too busy talking about the fight and completely forgot about that, but it looks like it hasn't made too much of a difference. So right here, it can be a lot to tackle, but I think we handled it there. Key thing right there was to right click to ensure I was clicking on the right projectiles. Couple more hits here and the fight should be over. Our DPS was very good here. Even when we didn't have the ancestral one. Alright, fight completed. We didn't even have to deal with that last warrior there. This being a Grandmaster quest, we are nowhere near done. I'll tell you what, that Sirach Magus boss fight was very, very fun the first time I encountered it, and it was still fun right there, even though that was probably my third time doing While Gothic Sleeps. Maybe even the fourth, actually, but nevertheless, it's a very, very creative and interesting, engaging boss fight. For this next part of the quest, we're actually sort of in the wilderness. We're just going to have a cutscene here, and I do say sort of in the wilderness because right here, we're actually above the prayer altar in the wilderness. But don't worry, you're not actually in the wilderness. No one's going to come and PK you. This is just a cutscene. When I first saw this cutscene, I thought this was pretty cool. Lucian over here summons all these undead skeletons with what I assume is rune armor. There's actually some pretty interesting combinations here. For example, this looks like a rune Guthan's helm, but obviously that doesn't exist. Oh, there goes those Elite Black Knights. That's quite unfortunate. And then this is the beauty about Grandmaster quests. They really put the Grand in Grandmaster when they assemble all of these previous NPCs you've interacted with in other quests. So right there, there's that guy from Lunar Diplomacy and Dream Mentor. There's Duradel, the Slayer Master. A couple NPCs from the Warriors Guild. And Hazelmere. And then honestly, this teleport completely unnecessary. They were like a few feet away. They just had to TP into the fight for style points. Well, that was quick. Goodbye, Duradel. Everybody is just getting poofed. I believe there's a few survivors. Those two hiding behind the rocks. Actually, I have no idea who that guy is. I think he's from the Warriors Guild, but I don't know what his purpose is. And obviously, that's the Slayer Master in Canifis, in Mauritania. We're finally at the part of the quest where we make it to the area where the Tormented Demons are located. Where we were just by the Tears of Guthix area. We brought ourselves a Sapphire Lantern, lured some of these light creatures down here, and yeah, we're making our way to the Guthixian Temple, I believe is what it's called. Here we are on the final boss. We're about 25% of the way in now, and this boss is pretty special as well, as you have to use all three attack styles. And the boss itself will use all three attack styles against you. Another key thing here, which is actually make or break when you're dealing with this boss, is that it will drain your stats. As such, to mitigate that, I have plotted a Menafite remedy, and I also have a bunch of super restores in our inventory. Now, I'm not even going to lie, I died a few times at this boss just simply because I didn't read the mechanics to the boss. So third time's the charm here. This time, I do know all the mechanics to the boss, I think. So, should be smooth sailing on this one. So as you progress in this boss fight, it will start using overheads. Initially, there were no overheads. Now it's protecting one. I think as we go further, it might even protect against two different styles, and you're going to have to be very specific. I might be wrong on that. But the main thing is, actually, you can see that the boss is now attacking faster and faster. So we really have to pay attention here. Yep, there it goes. Protects against two styles, so we have to specifically range it. It's fairly straightforward, though, because you have to... Oh, hold on. It's fairly straightforward, though, because... Oh my goodness. Alright, let's recollect ourselves behind this pillar. Okay. We'll go ahead and send our blowpipe specs as well. What I was going to say is that it's fairly straightforward because when you protect mage, you also use mage. Likewise, melee, protect melee, you also use melee. So in that regard, it's fairly straightforward. But as you saw there, the attack speed up, it can snowball when you're making a few mistakes, and it could get real sketchy. Nevertheless, done with that boss. And the final section of this fight here, or this quest, there's actually one more fight against 2 tormented demons. And that is the second tormented demon down. We're going to wrap up the quest here. Anyways, that is While Guthix Sleeps completed. 5 quest points, access to the ancient Guthixian temple, and a whole bunch of EXP. We're up to 311 quest points now. With the completion of While Guthix Sleeps, we now have access to the Tormented Synapse and the Demon Bane weapons. Because we're a main, assuming we have enough GP, we can simply just buy the Tormented Synapses. Well, currently, we are in a rebuild process, and I don't actually have that much GP. I think the game plan for me is I'm going to be buying one of the Synapses, and we're going to try our hand at farming some Tormented Demons ourselves, and see if we can get a second one. Some Burning Claws along the way would be nice as well. That way, I wouldn't have to purchase those either. So yes, essentially, we're going to be Iron Manning our Tormented Synapses. At least 2 out of 3 of them. But also, because we are a main, if at any point we don't want to continue the grind, or if we reach drop rate and we're just unlucky, we can simply go buy them. So yeah, that is the game plan. We'll get situated and get started on Tormented Demons in the next episode. In this video, we're going to get set up on our Slayer block list with Kuradel. Our initial plan was to pick up a Greater Demons task, but I'm here retroactively speaking to inform you we got very sidetracked with profitable tasks and some Araxor combat achievements. Previously, we completed While Guthix Sleeps, giving us access to a higher tier of Demon Bane weapons with the likes of the Emberlight, the Scorching Bow, and the Purging Staff. These 3 weapons will be crucial for us to acquire Radiant Oathplate. We may have unlocked the ability to use them, but we don't actually have them yet. So the game plan today is we're going to be purchasing one of the Tormented Synapses out of the 3, making an Emberlight, and in combination with a Twisted Bow, we are going to be farming some Tormented Demons ourselves in hopes of getting 2 more Tormented Synapses and maybe even a pair of Burning Claws along the way. That's just the Iron Man in me, and also we don't exactly have a whole bunch of GP right now, and it could be interesting to get some collection logs. But before we can dive into that grind, we need to do some preparations, starting with optimizing our Slayer block list and actually updating Slayer in general. There might be a few unlocks and extends that we need to do, and then we will be hunting Greater Demons tasks so that we can do the grind on task. Obviously, along the way, other Slayer tasks are going to come up, and I'm going to determine if I want to do them based on how profitable they are, or if there are any combat achievements I need to do at a particular boss. I will say though, the luxury of being a main account, if we simply want to tap out of the grind at any point, or if we're very unlucky, we can simply go do something else and make the GP and buy the rest of the remaining Tormented Synapses. I've made my way over to Kuradel, and we're going to take a look at what we have unlocked and extended here. I believe we have most things that we want, except the big thing, I guess, is task storage. We have 1,569 points to work with, so I suppose we will rip the band-aid here and unlock task storage for 500 points. It used to be 1,000, so 500 points. We will gladly unlock task storage. And then as far as unlocks go, you know, one day I would like to get all the Slayer helmets, but that's not going to be anytime soon. I don't believe there's any other unlocks we want, so let's go over to the extend page. And looking at this page, there's actually a lot of things that aren't extended that I find interesting, and I think that's just the difference between playing a main account and an Iron Man, and perhaps the mindset I was in at the time while playing this account. For example, I don't have Abyssal Demons extended. I think it's going to stay that way though, actually, and I'm thinking at this point in time I might even block Abyssal Demons. I simply have no reason to do Abyssal Demons or Sire at this point in time. I'm not going for the Imbued Heart, and I currently don't care about anything Sire gives us. The important thing here is that we have Greater Demons extended already, so that's good. We don't have to concern ourselves with that. Scrolling down to the bottom here, Araxites. I guess I will be extending Araxites. Maybe one day we will be doing Araxor on this account. If nothing else but for the combat achievements, actually, so that's probably a good call right there. We'll pay the 150 points to extend Araxites. Now with 919 points remaining, I suppose this is where we need to start setting up the block list with Kuradel here. The block list is where it's going to get kind of funny from the Iron Man perspective anyways, because on the Imbued Heart grind, I would never block Abyssal Demons, but I think I am going to block them here now. So let's go ahead and do that. 100 points to block Abyssal Demons. And I think the general rule we're going to follow here is we're going to block anything that is high weight or high percentage here. So also, once we get our block list set up, we're ultimately going to start Turiel skipping. So our block list doesn't matter too much. It could help us in actually getting the task that we want, but we're going to be skipping anyways, so it's not too big of a deal. Yeah, I'm really struggling to figure out what I want to be blocking here. Yeah, let's just go ahead and commit, you know? I'm like kind of hesitating here, but let's commit. So, okay, we're going to commit to Dagonos. And we have one more slot for our block list. We don't have the 7th slot, as it says you must complete the Lumbridge and Draenor Elite Diary to use this slot. And looking at our diaries here, the only reason we don't have that completed is actually, you may have guessed it, Mage Training Arena under the hard tier. Cast Bones to Peaches in Alcarid Palace. We don't have Bones to Peaches unlocked on this account. Again, it's very strange because usually burst tasks or barrage tasks are quick, but that's just something I simply don't want to do right now. And I guess if I wanted to do a task, I would rather use a cannon. That is a key difference there as well, being on a main. We have the luxury of using a cannon. You know, we don't have to worry about cannonballs. We can simply just buy them. So our complete block list right now, you know, it is comparable to what a typical Iron Man block list may look like with a few exceptions. So currently we are on a Cal fight task, and I did unlock task storage, so I'm going to put the Cal fights away for now. Ultimately, I think that's going to be a skip, but let's see what our next task is. 136 worms. So a worms task isn't too profitable, I don't think, so I guess right away we're going to be utilizing Turiel skipping already. So for the longest time, we've always called this NPC here, or the NPC that resides in this building anyways, Turiel, but after the completion of While Guthic Sleeps, we unfortunately lost a few members around Gielinor. So Aya is Turiel's daughter, I believe. So instead of Turiel skipping, it is now Aya skipping. We're going to talk to her, and we're going to lose out on our task streak of 669. But you know what? I am okay with that. We can get that back in a relatively short time frame if we choose to boost. 23 wolves, we'll go take care of that task real quick, and then we'll go back to Kuradel to see what the actual task we want to do is. While we're working on the Slayer task here, I got the Goofy Vorcast Slayer helm on. I say goofy, I mean, I do like the color, but honestly, in comparison to the Master Tier Verzik helmet, and obviously the Zuck helm, it does not compare, right? I actually do have the Verzik Slayer helm right now, but I can't equip it, as this account has lost the Master Tier combat achievements quite some time ago. We're now 193 points removed from the Master Tier. I'm sure as we pick up some Slayer tasks here, though, we'll start chipping away at the combat achievement points, and maybe we'll find ourselves becoming Master Combat once again. Back at Kuradel, 169 spiritual creatures. Yeah, okay, we're going straight back to Aya with that one. We aren't doing that. We finally got a real task that we wanted to do, and it's a Black Dragons task. We're making our way over to Brutal Black Dragons. At least for its time at one point in time, this was actually a very, very good task to do for GP. Not so sure what the GP rates are here these days, but I'm sure it's still pretty profitable. Although, no one else is here right now. Nevertheless, I'm going to knock out these 58 Black Dragons on the task, and we'll see how much money we come out with, I suppose. While we're working on this Brutal Black Dragons task, I just want to reiterate, while our goal is to get a Greater Demons task so we can start farming some Tormented Demons, any task where it's decently profitable we are going to do. So here I am at Brutal Black Dragons, and the wiki says it's about 1.4 to 1.5 mil GP an hour, so I'll be taking that. Also, doing this task is just very, very nostalgic. This was like the Rune Dragons before the Rune Dragons. Okay, I've been doing a lot of angler fishing recently on the Iron Man here because I've been focused on playing the main account again. And I just got a duplicate heron pet, the fishing pet here at Anglers at 22.9 mil EXP. I don't remember when I got the first one as it was a long time ago. I suppose let's look at the collection. Okay, and the game sounds are currently recording. Well, the game sounds from Riddle Black Dragons. That's what we're doing right now. But yeah, let's take a look at the collection log. Other scaling pets? Scaling pets. Yep, that is our first duplicate fishing pet. We're actually missing a lot of the other scaling pets, unfortunately. Maybe one day we will get those. Just wrapped up the Black Dragons task there. 58 brutal Black Dragons. Let's check our loot. So this is everything we got from the task. 1.6 mil worth of loot. And then I suppose if we subtract the supply cost, it's probably somewhere around 1.4 or 1.5 mil. Not too bad, not too bad. Several task skips now, and unfortunately still no Greater Demons task. However, after the Brutal Black Dragons, we are now doing Rune Dragons. So a little bit of good GP here as well. There's been a lot of task skipping behind the scenes. Unfortunately, Kuradel keeps giving me spiritual creatures and skeletal wyverns, which I'm not sure why because they aren't even weighted that high on my current task list. Regardless, we finally found ourselves with another task that we wanted to do, albeit it's not Greater Demons, unfortunately. We've yet to pull that. But here we are geared up in our best crush setup here because we're going to be doing some Araxor. We got a 209 Araxite task. And there's some combat achievements from there that are pretty free that I'm going to try and knock out. I don't know if I'm necessarily going to do the whole task. We'll just see how it goes. Here we are on the first KC ever on this account. And we got a new PB, by default. A 111. Oh, with that we actually get the Venom, which is guaranteed when you get a certain time. I forget, but that is a collection log, our first collection log at Araxor. We just got Araxor Speed Trialist, okay? Araxor speed tests are kind of interesting because it's not based on one singular Araxor KC. Rather, it's over, I believe, maybe 3 or 4 for the speed trialist, and then Grandmaster time's going to be over an even longer or bigger sample size of KCs. So one of the freebie combat achievements, well, besides KC, I believe there's one where we don't allow Araxor to move. So what we're going to do here is we're actually just going to stand right in place. And obviously in enrage phase, we are going to have to maneuver around. But we can just move around Araxor. Okay, we're in enrage phase. And so far so good. Araxor has not actually moved. We should be able to get that combat achievement done. And we do. And along with that, we also get Araxor Speed Chaser. Now, before we pull the rewards, let's take a look at the combat tasks here, just to really get a grasp on the speeds. Get more details about that. So we first did Araxor Speed Trialist, which is actually just 4 Araxors in less than 10 minutes. Speed Chaser is 5 Araxors in 10 minutes. And Speedrunner is going to be 6 in 10 minutes, which I believe we're pacing to get that. We just simply need to get the next KC. So let's get ready for that. And there we go. Araxor Speedrunner, the Grandmaster combat task. And along with it, we actually got a genuine new PB of a 107. Just teleported out of our first trip at Araxor here. We didn't go for all the CAs, obviously. We're just getting reaccustomed to the boss again. We did get all the speed ones done, and Swimming in Venom, which is the one where we kill Araxor without the boss ever moving. We're going to look into some of the other ones now. There are 2 more absolute freebies though. It's just a matter of doing the boss. Kill Araxor 25 times and 75 times respectively. Alright, we are back for another trip here at Araxor. I think I'm going to go for Perfect Araxor and Perfect Araxor 2. Perfect Araxor is pretty straightforward. Just don't take any unnecessary damage. After that, we'll go for Perfect Araxor 2, although I'm unsure if Perfect Araxor 2 requires Perfect Araxor 1. I suppose that would make sense, right? But I actually don't know. I think just to be safe, we're gonna do one at a time though. So for this first KC, let's try and do Perfect Araxor. Okay, so we already failed Perfect Araxor 2 because 2 is just simply making the boss hit itself during the enrage phase. So you can't actually hit it. Oh no, that's gonna fail it. Oh, it didn't. Oh, that was very fortunate right there. Because if we had done damage and not finished the boss there, that mirrorback, that white crab, would have reflected damage onto us and that would have failed. But we just got Perfect Araxor as well as a new PB, although I don't really know if that's new, maybe by a tick or something, because I do believe our previous PB was a 107. With Perfect Araxor 1 out of the way now, let's go for Perfect Araxor 2. We mostly have to do the exact same thing, with the caveat that on Enrage phase we are now no longer going to swing at the boss, instead we're going to have to step under. Well, I already failed. And we didn't get the combat achievement. I'm going to have to look this up because I don't know. Just pulled up the wiki here, and it does say that essentially we have to redo Perfect Araxor 1, just with the extra stipulation during the Enrage phase. So I suppose let's heal up and try again. Okay, just pulled the Araxite loot, and that was unexpected, but we're very early days here at the Araxor boss, so Araxite Venom Sacs are a collection log even. I'm unsure if Thralls fails it, so I'm just gonna avoid that. Okay, I think we just failed, so... I kind of forgot what the special was in this cycle, so that was a mistake. Alright, here comes another attempt on Perfect Araxor 2. Continue to maneuver around. This is where it could get tricky. Let's just maneuver over here so we have more tiles to work with. And that should be it. There we go. Perfect Araxor 2. And we get a U-Seed. We are now 50% done with the Araxor CAs. We are currently 6 out of 12. Aside from the KC ones, we still have Relaxor to do, which is kill Araxor after destroying 6 eggs. I think that one should be relatively easy. And then we have Let It Seep In without ever having venom or poison immunity. Okay, that's not a big deal either. And Araxite Betrayal, I believe we're just gonna have to purposely keep some of the eggs alive and then have an exploder one, the red ones, deal damage to all 3. I believe the boss counts as well. And then Arachnid Lover, kill Araxor 10 times without leaving. We might bring a Blood Fury or something like that into a trip, and we should be able to take care of that as well. So the next task we're going to tackle first is the no poison immunity one. Now I'm unsure if the anti-poison that's currently ticking for us is going to fail it or not. So just in case, I'm going to go in and out of the gauntlet here. And I believe that will reset all my stats. There we go. And back to Araxor we go. So we're going to pot up as usual, minus the poison immunity. We are going to take a fair bit of damage here, so I believe this is probably just going to be a 1 KC trip, assuming we can get the task done, one and done. The boss just has 124 health left to go now, so we should be able to take care of this. Okay. We have Let It Seep In done. Okay, the task specifically states that we have to destroy 6 eggs, so let's go ahead and try and do that now. We have returned to re-attempt Relaxor CA. The wiki suggests that you do the eggs in reverse order. So we're going to start on this north side here, whereas traditionally we start over on the south side. 6, we'll go for this one for good measure. I may have been counting out loud, but I got distracted by that Tanzanite Fang drop, and now I'm a little confused. So let's try to get rid of this. Okay. Now we proceed to fight the boss as normal, I believe. One more swing here should do the trick. That should be a Relaxor. There it is. Now we just have 4 Araxor CAs to complete. We're going to need to specifically go after Arachnid Lover and Araxite Betrayal. Have an Araxite killed 3 other Araxites. I believe this one should be fairly straightforward. We do just have to keep an eye out on maybe the certain rotations of the eggs. Alright, we just got the Spider Cave teleports as a consolation prize. Another collection log. That is 300 collection logs on this account. And I've never seen or noticed this message before, but it says you have achieved the Iron rank for collection logging. Speak to the collector in Varrock Museum for a reward. I guess this was an update some time ago. I do remember that, like people holding their gilded clog staffs and whatnot. This is it, this is it. Surely this is it. That is unbelievable. I think my step under just pushed that Araxite out of range of the Explodey boy. Okay, through various attempts of doing Araxite Betrayal, we actually picked up the 25 KC combat achievement. So, Araxor Veteran, done. Still working on Araxite Betrayal, though. Here we go, here we go. That has to be it, that has to be it. It didn't kill... Let's try to get these two into position here. Okay, that is perfect. That is absolutely perfect. This is it. This has to be it. There we go. That could not have been any better. They were perfectly stacked on that one. I actually lost track of how many attempts that took, but for some reason I really had trouble with this one. But the remaining 2... Is it 2? Let's go ahead and look at the log here. Yes, the remaining 2 combat achievements are going to be free. Araxor Master 75 times. So we need another 48 KC. And then Arachnid Lover 10 KC without leaving. We'll just slap on a Blood Fury and maybe some Brews, just in case we're just like better food. We're just bringing sharks at the moment. Okay, we have re-geared, changed our inventory slightly, added an Amulet Blood Fury, a Brew, and a Restore just in case it really comes down to it. And we have upgraded our sharks to Anglerfish. Should be able to do the 10 KC trip relatively easily, I think, especially with a Blood Fury. We could just camp that the entire time if we really wanted to, but I'm being cheap and I'll only swap to it when we need it. I made the mistake of not tracking what my KC was when I first entered the room, so I'm not sure how far away we are from the 10 KC milestone here. I think we have a ways to go, though. We barely just got started, in all honesty, and I'm quickly realizing that perhaps prayer is going to be more of an issue more than anything, and maybe I should bring more prayer. Although I do have the extra restore, so that's going to help. And that is Arachnid Lover complete. Like I said earlier, I had no idea how close or how far away I was, because I didn't really keep track. Should have looked at the KC number before I went in. But with the availability of an Amulet of Blood Fury, this task was honestly very trivial. And honestly, I should have brought in more prayer pots, as that was more of a concern than the actual food. This task was a little bit more difficult though, as I actually got 0 supply drops over the course of this trip. If I got any prayer potions or some extra food, it would have made it a lot easier. I did have to start prayer flicking a little bit, although I do have 1 super restore left in the inventory. All that remains is the 75 KC task, and we will have green logged the Araxor combat achievements. So we'll check back in for when that happens, or maybe we might get surprised with a good drop or 2, who knows. We're working on the final KC here. Being a main, being able to use a Blood Fury, very nice. We have a 20-minute trip here, and I actually ran out of food for like the last 5 KC, but just using a Blood Fury extended the trip, didn't have to bank, and there we have it, Araxor Master. We are now 12 out of 12 on Araxor combat achievements. And we're actually still on task, 134 Araxites, but I think I'm going to go ahead and cancel that task and see what else we can get. But in terms of combat achievements here, we are 133 points away from re-obtaining the master tier that we once had. we're going to go ahead and wrap it up there. It was nice to get the Araxor combat achievements done and out the way, putting us closer to Master Tier once again. But let's not forget, our main goal here is to do Tormented Demons and get ourselves some Tormented Synapses. So hopefully we pick up a greater Demons task soon, but we'll just have to keep chipping away at Slayer to find out. Previously, we completed While Guthic Sleeps, giving us access to Tormented Synapses and the Demon Bane weapons, which is very, very crucial in our quest to get Radiant Oathplate. Being a normal account, we have the freedom to buy the Tormented Synapses from the Grand Exchange if we so choose, but I wanted to meet in the middle, get myself one Tormented Synapse from the GE, and then try to farm 1 or 2 more. Or at the very least, do 1 or 2 greater Demons tasks at Tormented Demons and see if we can get lucky. I wanted to make sure to do this on task, but along the way we found ourselves with another task, a Fire Giants task, which ultimately led us to the Royal Titans and the combat achievements there. One of our side goals along the way to Radiant Oathplate is to re-obtain the Master Tier combat achievements. Well, that's unfortunate. TP'd out, got a collection log, but didn't pick it up. It's just Iron Boots though. Kind of funny, with how old this account is, we finally get an Iron Boots collection log. Goes to show that I've never done tutorial skipping before, so here we are now. Just finished a little Cave Slimes task to skip our previous task, whatever it was, I don't actually remember. But we went back to Curdell and we picked up a Cow Fight task. I have no interest in doing it, so I'm back at Aya here to skip it. However, unfortunately, I can't because Cow Fights are both at Curdell's Slayer list and Aya's. So what I'm going to do here is actually for Aya specifically, I'm going to block Cow Fights. Now in the past, I've blocked Cow Fights in general before block lists were specific to the Slayer Masters. But it looks like I'm going to have to burn some extra points here to block Cow Fights with Aya. That's going to cost 40 points, but I think it's going to be worth it. In my quest for a greater Demons task, we've had no luck, unfortunately. However, we have stumbled upon a Fire Giants task, 189. We're here at the Royal Titans, and for multiple reasons, we're here for the combat achievements, as well as the prayer upgrades. Well, it's not exactly a full upgrade, as obviously on this account, we already have Rigor and Augury, but the upgrades for Eagle Eye and Mystic Might are very useful even on a maxed account. So we're going to be going after that today, as well as glogging the combat task, which hopefully won't take too long. We've never been to Royal Titans before on this account at all, so we have our work cut out for us at the Royal Titans task. There are 11 of these, but we do have the Grand Master himself, Mr. Peppy Doom, here to help us out. Because I have a Fire Giants task here, I'm going to primarily be focusing on the Fire Queen. I'm just going to be camping my Slayer Helm, so if I hit the Ice boss, it's not quite as efficient. Just a minor detail though. And the first task we're going after here is simply the 15 KC task. I'm actually taking a ton of damage here. I honestly don't really remember how this encounter goes. Absolute ton of damage being taken, so I'm just gonna go ahead and blow pipes back. I did bring my Amulet of Blood Fury as well. Peppy also does not remember how this boss works. Okay, I do know we're supposed to step on this portal though. Well, before we went in here, we made the decision to go for the 15 KC without leaving task first, and that is probably a good call considering we don't know how to do this boss, evidently. Oh, just got a combat task on the first one anyways. Royal Titan Speed Runner. I believe we need to get a sub 115 to get speed. Wait, or is that it, actually? Is that it? Are we just that good? We're just that good. The time is a 130. Okay. So besides the prayers, there's also the elemental staff, and I don't know, maybe a chance at the pet would be nice. So a lot of goodies we can get from here. Despite being an endgame player doing an early game boss, lots of goodies for us. Potentially anyways. Another combat achievement. I don't even know what that one is actually. Elemental Company? What is that? Kill the Royal Titans without attacking any elementals. Well, I never did that in the first place, so I don't know. Maybe I did slay some by accident with my scythe. The AoE attack. Another combat task completed. I need room. That is gonna be... kill the Royal Titans without extinguishing all fires and melting all icicles before they dissipate naturally. I don't even know how that happened. We just got it. Oh, and we get a collection log. Desiccated pages. Now, desiccated pages, I believe, you can turn those pages into anything you want, whether that's fire, like the burnt pages for the Tome of Fire, or the soaked pages for the Tome of Water, or even the earth pages for from Huey Coddle. So for Iron Man, it's like a nice consistent way of getting pages. Just got a new PB of 55 seconds, so much quicker than our previous PB. We're getting into the flow of things now. We are currently working on the 15 KC in one trip combat task, and it's very easy to keep count for us because this is the first ever time we're here at Royal Titans on this account. So we're 6 KC in, 9 more to go. Royal Titan Champion, I believe that is just for 10 KC. Well, we just got perfect Royal Titans on our way to the 15 KC trip, just complete by accident. So that's one less CA to worry about now. The perfect task is, well, you can usually find a perfect task at every boss that you do, and it's always very satisfying to accidentally do that. Just finished the 14th KC here, so one more. 35 health, no food, but our trusty Amulet of Blood Fury. Surely this is going to be fine. You know, for good measure, we're going to blow pipes back here just to get a little health back. I think we got 6 back there. Oh, Blood Fury puts us back above 50 health. We're going to be okay. Surely nothing catastrophically goes wrong between now and the end of this KC. And final swing here. There it is. Titan Killer. 15 KC. Whole bunch of loot on the ground that I don't even have space for. And going after just the one combat task here, we managed to pick up 5 other ones along the way. So now we just have 5 tasks remaining here at Royal Titans. Some of them we're probably going to have to do 1 KC trips. For example, 1 by 1. Well, actually that one's not too bad. The better example is No Time to Pray, where we intentionally have to not use any prayer, or at least not lose any prayer points. So we're going to take a lot of chip damage from that one, but that one should be fairly easy to do. We'll just need more food. There is a amulet that drops from the bosses called the Giant Soul Amulet, which puts you directly to the boss just outside. It is actually a meta to use the Giant Soul Amulet and something like the Narda teleport with the Desert Amulet 4 to just TP out in between KCs. Unfortunately, so far we don't have the amulet yet. So here I am making the run back, which isn't terrible, but it's not exactly quick either. So for this next trip, we're going to be tackling 2 combat achievements at once here. First one being No Prayer, No Time to Pray. And the other one we're going to try at the same time is 1 by 1, kill 1 Titan at a time without attacking the other. We're going to be focusing down the ice one, and then dealing with the fire one afterwards. I used prayer. Right away, instinctively, I turned on my prayer, my offensive prayer, so... Well, I guess we'll be going after the 1 at a time. And we might as well use our prayer now. The classic, enter and instantly fail the combat achievement. 1 by 1, complete. We instantly failed the no prayer one just out of habit, but at least we got that one out the way. Oh, and we get the Mystic Vigor Prayer Scroll. That is a huge spoon right there. Let's go ahead and read that right away. That's going to upgrade our Mystic Might into Mystic Vigor. Oh, and it spawned. Okay. For the next KC, we're going to not use any prayer. But Mystic Vigor Prayer Scroll, that is an absolute spoon. We don't even have a Giant Soul Amulet yet, so... Wow. There it is. No Time to Pray. Now that we have the Mystic Vigor Prayer Scroll, or the prayer in general, we're now going to start pulling from Eldrick the Ice King here, as each respective boss... I mean, it's 1 boss KC, but obviously it's 2 bosses in there. Branda gives the Mystic Vigor Prayer, And Eldritch gives the other one, which the name eludes me right now. The range prayer in question is Deadeye. Did I not get it? Maybe pull the loot real quick? Oh, Giant Soul Amulet. At least that is a consolation prize. We now have the teleport. If I'm not mistaken, we need to put Big Bones and Law runes in it. A claw scratch here. Get it. There we go. Then we'll get ready for it. Go, 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 go! There we go. There was a very specific timing on that combat achievement. It takes too long. It's before it fully charges up. So if you let a slam attack out, that is too late. That just leaves us with 2 more combat achievements to do, or tasks to do. Let them fight, kill the Royal Titans while having them kill a total of 10 elementals, and then the 25 KC one. For this 10 elemental one, basically we just have to slow it down and let the bosses do its thing. How does this combat achievement work? I gotta say, yeah, I gotta say we're probably good. So let's just do the actual boss now. Oh. Okay. Okay. Well, I didn't get a fail message. I'm gonna try and finish the boss here and see if it counts. I don't understand this combat task. Yes, we did it. Let them fight. Okay. That was very, very awkward. We spent like over 5 minutes just walking around. But we got it done. All that remains is kill the Royal Titans 25 times. We're now at 23 KC. So we're right there. Here we go. 25th KC. And that is Royal Titans combat achievements greenlogged. Can we get a spoon? Nope, we get 64 blood runes instead. That is Royal Titans combat achievements completed. Again, our main goal here is to get a greater demons task to try and start doing some tormented demons so we can get a synapse. But unfortunately, that just hasn't happened. The time has finally arrived. Finally, a greater demons task. 218 of them. I might even bust out the slaughter bracelets just to extend this task even more. So it definitely took us a while to get a greater demons task. We got sidetracked by a whole bunch of other Slayer tasks, from Araxor to the more recent Royal Titans grind for the combat achievements. But we can finally start grinding tormented demons. We have ourselves the Arclight in our inventory here, and we're going to be upgrading this to the Emberlight. Now, because we're a main account and not an Iron Man, I'm just going to head on over to the GE right now and buy myself 1 tormented synapse. Now, how much does it cost these days? 25 mil, give or take, 26 maybe? Okay. Now, I believe we have to go speak to Kuradel first. But yeah, being a main account, we have the luxury of buying items, and luckily we had enough GP to buy 1 tormented synapse. The goal here is we're going to try to get 1, maybe 2, depending on how the grind goes. 1 or 2 more tormented synapses, and then maybe even the burning claws along the way. That would be very, very ideal, so I don't have to purchase those. And then, well, obviously we need the tormented synapse, plural, for our ultimate goal of getting Radiant Oathplate. So we have to talk to Kuradel because I believe her father, Duradel, left behind a book that teaches us about the tormented synapses and the upgraded weapons. So, yep, there we go. Duradel's notes. We're going to read those real quick. We actually gained a little bit of Slayer EXP from that, which is nice. And then now we may have to go to an anvil. I'm not entirely sure. Oh, look, it's me. So not only do we need to be at an anvil with a hammer, but we actually also need to put these ancient shards into our Arclight to either have 100% infusion or 10,000 charges in it, I believe. There we go. Now we simply use the synapse on the anvil, and we're going to be making the Emberlight. There we go. Now, in an ideal situation, we're going to end up with a Purging Staff and a Scorching Bow as well. These things will obviously help at Yama, but if we're looking a little bit further ahead, they're also going to help at the Doom of Mocha. Here's going to be our setup for grinding some tormented demons. We're on task, so obviously we have the Slayer helmet. I did take the liberties of swapping out my Vorkath helmet with the KBD one, the King Black Dragon one. It fits a little bit better, looks a little less goofy. We're pretty much in our max melee setup that we have available to us, but with the Ember Light. And then, as far as our other attack style goes, we're going to be ranging using the Twisted Bow. So we got a little 6-way switch here. We have Dragon Claws for spec, and we are bringing the Elder Maw for the special heavy hit mechanic. The rest of the inventory, well, it's just teleports to get there, Thralls, and Death Charge, which we are actually missing Death Runes, which I'll need to replace in the rune pouch here, actually. I did buy some Aether runes, which are a combination rune of soul runes and cosmics, so I can actually get rid of these cosmics. I'm going to fix that before I go there. These should be death runes. And then just restores and food. Made my way to the Tormented Demons. We're just at a location with one Tormented Demon. That's going to be good enough for me for right now. I'm just chilling, getting started, getting warmed up. In the meantime, though, let's talk about the drop rates here. The Tormented Synapse is a 1 in 500, whereas the Burning Claws are a 1 in 501. So, in all honesty, with our task of 218, we really shouldn't be expecting any drops, but we'll see if we can get lucky. 1 KC in, we get Unending Torment. I'm pretty sure that's just getting one simple KC. The drops here at Tormented Demons, the regular loot anyways, is not very interesting. So, if you're looking to make money at Tormented Demons, you better hope you get lucky with the uniques being the Burning Claws and the Tormented Synapse, because the regular loot is really not going to net you any profit. Right now in our inventory, we got a Grimy Dwarfweed, a Manta Ray, a Dragon Dagger, and we just got another Manta Ray. So we established that the regular loot here is unfortunately pretty abysmal. However, the Slayer EXP here is absolutely insane. Every Tormented Demon is well over 1000 Slayer EXP per KC. So imagine being a mid-game player here because, well, you know, Greater Demons don't exactly have a high requirement. And actually, while Gothic Sleeps does not have a lot of requirements either. So if you're looking to gain a ton of Slayer EXP, Tormented Demons is not a bad option. Although, I will, continue to flip-flop and weigh the pros and cons here. Another con is that obviously if you're doing Tormented Demons, you're not going to get any superiors, meaning no Imbued Heart Chance or Eternal Gem, whatever rare Slayer item you might be after. Occasionally Tormented Demons will drop something like this Smoldering Pile of Flesh. For this one, the flesh is actually some food, so that will help you extend your trip just a little bit. There is another drop, the Heart, I believe, which is a stat boost, a combat stat boost. And then there's also another one, which the name escapes me right now, but that one is like a prayer regeneration. So occasionally there is a nice little bonus to help you with your trip. Ooh, we get our first collection log here, Gothixian Temple Teleports. Just as its namesake, it is a teleport scroll that gets us right here to the Tormented Demons. Otherwise, it is a little bit of a run. Just came back from the bank and the middle spot here in the temple is open. This is a spot with 2 Tormented Demons, and technically, if I wanted to, I could attack both at the same time. It is a multi-combat zone. I'm not going to do that though, but I am going to take advantage of 2 being here so that I don't have to wait for the respawn times. The respawn times aren't incredibly high, but it is still downtime where you could be attacking another Tormented Demon. And over the course of hundreds of KCs, that's going to be a bit of a time save. So I'll come to this middle here whenever it is open, but if another person shows up, I mean, we'll just go back to our solo spot, I suppose. But whenever the spot is open, I'm going to take full advantage of it. And coming into the second trip here, I've also made another decision. In the bulk of the first trip, I was actually flicking my offensive prayers, conserving my prayer to the best of my abilities, and that's going to be a lot of effort. And I realized being on a main account, I can simply just buy more super restores, buy more prayer potions, so I'm not going to worry too much about it, even if it shortens my trip slightly and I have to make more trips. But I think the effort level and just, like me being lazy, that's going to be a worthwhile trade-off. I want to give it my best go here to at least hit the drop rate for 1 Tormented Synapse, and then we'll just have to see if we end up getting one or not. But me playing a main account instead of an Iron Man right now, really a test of my own will, I suppose, my own discipline on whether or not I can stay and grind it out versus just buying what I need. We'll see how this goes. But right now we're only 19 KC in. And again, the drop rate for a Tormented Synapse is a 1 in 500. Just got another combat task through Fire and Flames. Tormented Demons do have a decent amount of combat achievements to do. So we're going to be getting a few free points along the way, one step closer to Master Tier once again. I don't think I'm really going to go out of my way to do the ones that are, well, out of the way. But I am going to take the absolute free ones that we're going to end up getting here just by simply doing and farming Tormented Demons like usual. Oh my god, last KC of the trip here. Just the second trip, by the way. We get a Burning Claw collection log. You know what? Just for that, we're going to celebrate. Being a main, again, we have the freedom to do what we want. So, you know what? Getting this Burning Claw piece, we're going to go buy another piece. That way we have a full set of the Burning Claws, the usable set. I mean, these things don't cost that much, anyways. I could have afforded it from the get-go, but it's actually pretty satisfying to get the collection log. Combine them together, and we get the Burning Claws. And Burning Claws are Demon Bane, so I'm going to put away the Dragon Claws because the Burning Claws are the better option, actually. That was just KC number 36, by the way, so we still got 182 on task. And I suppose in getting a drop so early, we have a good chance of getting another one before the task is said and done. Another trip and another little adjustment. We went ahead and brought the Ash Sanctifier. Honestly, I kind of forgot about it on this account. In fact, I wasn't even sure if I had it, but if we just go and check it, go ahead and check our achievement diaries, we do have, I believe it is the Karen and Kabos one. That is for the Ash Sanctifier, if I'm not mistaken. That or Mauritania, but I'm pretty sure it's the Karen one. But yeah, we have the Ash Sanctifier. I did have to put death runes in it, charges in it. It was completely empty, which begs the question, did I ever use this in the past? I don't know. I definitely made use of it on the Iron Man, but you know, this account, logging back into this account, it's all a mystery. Obviously, I've had my stints. When I went for Blorva, you know, obviously I logged back in, did Desert Treasure 2, and focused on the Awakened bosses. But in terms of actively playing this account, I haven't played this in many, many years. Oh, and of course I also logged back in for the Quiver. But fun fact, when I first went for the Quiver at Colosseum, I was practicing and trying to get the cape first on the main, and my first ever Soul Heritage KC was a double death. So I got the KC and the combat task, but I did not get the Quiver. So that was honestly pretty tragic. But luckily these days across multiple accounts, I have like 20 Colosseum KC, so I definitely got my get back on Soul Heritage. I believe the start of our task was 218 Greater Demons. Here we are working on the final one of the task. Ever since the Burning Claw pull, it's actually been pretty quiet after the fact. But again, going back to the drop rates, the Burning Claw is a 1 in 501, and the Tormented Synapse is a 1 in 500. So kind of unreasonable to expect anything. In fact, it was very, very fortunate that we did get a Burning Claw. But the question is, can we just get a little bit luckier? That's the task completed. And we get some Chaos Rand. Alright, let's get out of here. After a few money tasks and a whole lot of skipping, we finally found ourselves with another Greater Demons task. 233 of them. I don't believe this is going to put us on rate, so again, we just hope we have to get lucky. Alright, we've really locked in here and we're already halfway through our Greater Demons task here at Tormented Demons. Unfortunately, as I've said before, it's been very, very quiet since the Burning Claw drop. Nothing to show for, unfortunately. Well, I guess except for the EXP, because the EXP here is absolutely insane. Over 1k Slayer EXP per Tormented Demon. Our total KC right now is 334. So actually another 166, if I can do math correctly, until we hit rate. We are coming towards the end of the task now, and by the time we're finished, we would be at 451 KC. So unless we get a Tormented Synapse between now and then, we will be leaving another task empty-handed. Now we're still shy, or we're still going to be shy, of the 500 mark, which is the drop rate. And I know someone out there is going to suggest or comment, hey, why didn't you use slaughter bracelets? And to answer that, quite frankly, I was just too lazy. Here we are finishing our Tormented Demons task. 233 greater demons, bringing us to a total of 451. Unfortunately, no Tormented Synapse. I guess we will visit Curdell real quick, see if we can get a back-to-back task. If not, we will have to reassess what we want to do. 210 Sukas, we will definitely not be doing that. So unfortunately, we did not get the back-to-back task. With that being said though, I think we are going to be moving on from Tormented Demons now. This is the beauty of playing a main normal account. We can do the grinds if we want, we can give it a try anyways, and if we don't feel like doing any more, well, we can simply go to the Grand Exchange and buy it. There's definitely a balance between playing a main account and playing the Iron Man account. Both things can be rewarding, it's not one or the other. In the next video, we're going to be looking towards Yama. Now when it comes to Yama, there is one upgrade that we must go get ourselves, whether we are a main account or an Iron Man. And that is the upgrade to Death Charge, turning it into double Death Charge. An absolutely massive upgrade that we need on any account, to be honest. Beyond getting double Death Charge, Yama also offers us the Soul Flame Horn, which is very useful in team raid settings, as well as the obvious Oathplate armor. What's the point in getting Radiant Oathplate if we don't have the Oathplate? We can start stocking up on some of the contracts ourselves, although I do imagine we're going to end up buying a lot of them, and just in general, get familiar with Yama once again. Don't get me wrong, the difference between farming regular Yama versus doing the contracts for Radiant Oathplate is probably night and day. But hey, you know, you gotta get used to doing solo Yama nonetheless. We have just 56 mil to our name right now, which is honestly not great, but nevertheless, we are gonna invest some GP into purchasing a Tormented Synapse. Now, I previously put in an offer for 29 mil and it did not buy, so we're just gonna up the price a little bit here. And that ended up being, what did that end up being? Let's take a look at the history here. That ended up being 29.6 mil. Okay. Previously, we already invested in a Tormented Synapse to turn our Arclight into the Emberlight. Now, I would say that every account needs 2 Tormented Synapses. The third one is really a quality of life thing so that you don't have to convert a Purging Staff and a Scorching Bow back and forth. But one of the Tormented Synapses is always reserved for the Emberlight, as you've already invested Ancient Shards to infuse the Arclight into the Emberlight. So you definitely don't want to revert that. Well, we've invested in a second Tormented Synapse today, and we're going to be making a Purging Staff. We are making our way over to Yama, and especially if we're going to be soloing, the Purging Staff is very, very crucial. We're standing just outside Varrock West Bank right now. There's an anvil over here, and we're going to be making the Purging Staff. Well, I suppose we have to use the Synapse on the anvil. We also have an Iron Bar and a Battle Staff in our inventory, and that makes the Purging Staff. While I have done Yama in the past, it's always been in a melee setup in a duo setting. This time around, I imagine on the grind, I'm going to be soloing quite a fair bit, and as such, I'm going to opt for a mage-only setup in my solos. So here I am decked out in Max Mage. Well, almost Max Mage. We're missing the Confliction Gauntlets and the Vernic Treads, but we haven't been to Dumamoka yet, and quite simply, we lack the funds to purchase those upgrades right now, so that's a thing for another day. Nevertheless, in our inventory here, we also have the Tunic and Shadow. We do have the Emberlight for the melee switch to deal with the name escapes me right now, but when you get teleported out of the arena, there's that little phase. You do have to use 2 different attack styles. And then we also have the Accursed Scepter as a mage defense reducing weapon. The rest of the inventory is just stuff to get there. We are on Arceus, so we're going to be using Mark of Darkness and Demon main spells, as well as Thralls. And then we also have food and potions. We've made it to Yama, just talked to the NPCs to get some dialogue going, and we can officially start doing the boss now. You can see here in the collection log 0 KC and obviously 0 items. So let's get started here. Like I said before, I haven't soloed before, so we're just going to see how this goes. I did watch a video or two and ask some clanmates with some experience, but I really didn't spend too much time, so let's just get to it. That's weird timing there. Ouch. Okay, I have the general idea of what I need to do, but I'm just, you know, a little slow right now. But hey, Yama Adept, he's 604. We would have got Elite Scroll Box. We get some blood runes for our efforts. 3P. Okay, that was not great. But we got another KC. That was actually slower. Barrel of Demonic Tallow. That's a collection log. That's used for surging potions. What are we getting? Another collection log. The Chasm Teleport Scroll. 6 of them. Okay. Getting better, getting better. Oh, a new PB. By like 30 seconds too. And another Barrel of Demonic Tallow. We're up to 5 KC now. A few KCs in now, and we're getting a little bit better, but still a ways away. As of right now, looking ahead at contracts is not looking too good right now, but with enough practice, we're going to get comfortable with solo Yama, and then hopefully some of it translates to doing the contracts. Nevertheless, here we are with some slight adjustments to our setup, and I do mean slight. I was informed by a clanmate that the Judge of Yama is actually not weak to Demon Bane, so a Garazi Rapier is actually going to be a better option for me than the Emberlight. And also, we're going to bring the Drahman Staff instead of a Lunar Staff, because so far, every time I die, I seem to lose the Lunar Staff, but I'm pretty sure the Drahman Staff is kept on death. At the very least, it's in my gravestone. The Lunar Staff just gets, I don't know, banished to the Shadow Realm or something. And yes, I still have to use a Drahman Staff to use Fairy Rings, and that's simply because I don't have Mage Training Arena done on this account. I actually have all of Lumbridge Elite complete, but because I don't have Lumbridge Hard done, I don't get the benefits. Oh boy, 40k Fire Runes. What a drop. Rune Chain Body, 8 of them. At least the loot is kind of big, you know, because like typically in a duo you would get maybe like anywhere between 3 to 5 depending on your DPS. More Tallow, oh boy. This might just be the longest P3 ever. That was like 2.5 minutes. Okay, I got a combat achievement out of it. I'm not even sure which one that is. And we get a supply drop. Back so soon? Let's go ahead. We're currently only 2 out of 11. Honestly, if we were doing a lot of these, we would get for free. But back so soon is defeat Yama without the judge being attacked with the wrong style and without taking more than 1 instance of damage each time you are exiled from the arena. Yeah, I'm surprised that took so long to do that one, actually. But hey, we got it done. 2 out of 11 on the combat achievements. It might be a mistake. But I'm not leaving. Oh, I should have left. I should have left. Okay, 18 KC in, we get a dossier. What are we going to get? This could be the double death charge, if I recall correctly. Potential, potential. Instead, we get a contract of shard acquisition. This particular contract isn't very useful for us, but I guess we'll take it. Better than nothing. We got the collection log. Hopefully the next one, we either get one of the contracts we need for Radiant Oathplate, or we get the Rite of Vile... I don't know what it's called. Let me look it up. Rite of Vile Transference. That is the scroll that is going to enable us to get double death charge. Ooh, back-to-back dossiers. Rite of Vile Transference, perhaps? Perhaps? Nope, we get 17 Chasm Teleports. Wow. That's probably actually worth a decent amount of GP. 807k. Alright, I've tried my hand at solo Yama, and I get the gist of it now, but in terms of doing a long-term grind, trying to get some Oathplate, and even the double death charge, which we still haven't got our hands on yet, I want to do duos, to be honest. It just is more fun that way, and it's quicker. So I'm going to be duoing with Me No Lucky here, and maybe in the future some other people as well. But for this session right now, the good old maxed UIM. Okay, I was supposed to join on him. Good start. Alright, here we go, here we go. P3, we're gonna be dono flying. It's been a while since I did it, so hopefully this goes well. Lost tick. Okay, that wasn't perfect, but not too bad. And right away we got a new PB because, well, whether you solo or duo is the same time. There's no separate trackers. We get a dossier. And more chasm teleports, 16 of them. Very nice, very nice. Got a combat achievement out of it too, firefighter. 20 rubies. Alright, another combat task. Yama speed trialist. Yama speed chaser, another one. We're zooming. We got ourselves some more teleport scrolls too. Very clean, very clean. Oh my god, this is it. 20 battle staves. Ooh, 7 Oathplate shards. That is our first. Obviously with a collection log. I don't know why I said it like that. But there we go. I'm rich. Ooh, another dossier. We're printing them. And we get 3 Divine Severance contracts. Now those are one of the contracts for the Radiant Oathplate. And I believe it's actually one of the harder ones too, so that's a good contract to get. A new PB, 241. And we got some Onyx Bolt Tips. Ooh, Forgotten Lockbox, another collection log. What are we gonna get out of it though? No way, no way, no way. Oathplate legs. Yes. Just like that. You know, I've never actually gotten a Oathplate piece out of the Forgotten Lockbox before. It is really quite rare. But the funny thing about that is on release, I had a lot of clanmates that got pieces out of the lockbox. So we were under the impression that once you got a lockbox, it was actually pretty common. But that's not the case. Oathplate legs acquired. 2 more pieces ago. And that was KC39. We did about 23 solos, so that was 16 duos for what it's worth. No back-to-back, unfortunately. Another new PB, 236. Oathplate shards. You know, I do get baited by the gold loot beam that it drops, because it's worth so much. It's worth like 1.3 mil, pretty much. Ooh, Yama veteran, that is 50 KC. That really crept up on me. But another combat achievement done. 52 KC, dossier, contract of shard acquisition. Again, that was our first contract we ever got on this account, actually. And I highly doubt I have the capabilities of actually doing said contract. But just selling the contract itself is worth a cool 5 to 6 mil, I think. 83 Onyx Bolt Tips. That's actually pretty big money. 671k. Okay, in the previous clip, I don't know if I captured it properly, but basically, me and my teammate were dono flying, and we just finished the KC. I turned my camera towards the loot, waiting for the loot to show up, and then I turned back around, and I don't see my teammate. And I was wondering what was happening. Well, turns out, he got 6 hour logged right at the end of the boss. Forgotten Lockbox number 2. No way we get another Oathplate. Oh wait, we both got Forgotten Lockboxes. I got Dragon Plate Legs. He seemed to have gotten 14 Oathplate shards. Baited by the Oathplate shards again. 1.1 mil. 7 Oathplate shards. 1 more than the last time. Another day, another Yama session, different duo partner. First KC was quite slow, but hey, we got it done. Diabolic Worms to open up the day. Ooh, a new Yama PB 232. I still need to go for the Grandmaster time, which is over a period of 4 KCs, I believe. So we'll see how that goes. 232. Oathplate shards, 5 of them. Wow. Well, that was a 20+ minute trip. I ran out of... Oh my... Oathplate chest, 93 KC. Put it right on. Sheesh. What? You don't even need it. You already have one. Wow, I just Iron Man the top and legs. Let's go. So now at 93 KC, we have the Oathplate chest and legs. And the current setup we're in with the Torva helmet is actually best in slot in a lot of places. It's safe to say we have been super spooned, especially since the Oathplate legs came from our first Forgotten Lockbox. Getting any item out of the Forgotten Lockboxes is actually incredibly rare. We're going to continue the grind here, but one more note. We still don't have double death charge. So, pretty interesting situation right now. What are we getting? Can we get the back-to-back? Oathplate shards, you know, I almost thought. Oh, a new PB, 231. 6 Oathplate shards. Wow, we're printing shards right now. Oh my god, huge hits right now. Holy. Holy, that was insane. What the? 220? Just past 100 Yama KC. Ever since we transitioned to doing duos, it's been a lot quicker, naturally. But you would think that doing duos is 2 times as quick as doing a solo. But honestly, solos are even slower than that. So I just don't think solos are worth doing, both in the context of consistency and efficiency and fun. It's just duos are better all around. 101 KC, Chasm Teleport Scrolls. I actually haven't seen these for a good bit. Oh, Forgotten Lockbox? Wait, no, I need a dossier. We get 14 Oathplate shards out of that though. Good money, I'll take that. So as I'm working on another KC here, the previous one we just got a lockbox and I got momentarily excited. Well, as always, there's always the potential of pulling an OP drop, as rare as that might be. But I got excited because I was thinking that it was actually a dossier. At this point in time, despite pulling the Oathplate chest and legs, we actually still don't have double death charge. Now, double death charge is guaranteed on your first dossier post 100 KC. So right now, as long as we get a dossier, we're pretty much guaranteed to get double death charge. 6 Oathplate shards. Printing shards, let's go. Ooh, Forgotten Lockbox. Still no dossier. What are we getting out of this though? Dragon plate legs. We are currently on a whole nother day now, but we're still at Yama. We're over 100 KC now. In fact, I just finished a solo KC, 136 total KC now. That was a 514. It was a weird hybrid of using mage gear and melee gear here. The bulk of my KC has been duos. I mean, we started the first 23 KC with solos, but then we did mostly duos. Today though, I can't seem to have a duo partner available, so right now I'm just soloing and I'm working out some weird hybrid between the 2 attack styles. From my research, I've seen a lot of people exclusively mage solos, but it just feels like it takes so long. So right now I'm just trying to find a happy medium of meleeing and maging. Ooh, a Forgotten Lockbox. Open it quick, I'm dying of poison. A Dragon Darts. That's pretty good, I suppose. Could have been an Oathplate piece though. Yes, after the Forgotten Lockbox, next KC is the dossier, and unless we misread or misunderstood the wiki, surely this gives us, there it is, the right of vile transference. Let's go ahead and read that now. Upgrade death charge. Yes, sir. You study the scroll and upgrade an Arceus spell, death charge. So now when you use this, well, you will have double death charge. Very, very nice. Well, after the completion of Yama, well, technically speaking, what we need from Yama we have now. We've moved on to doing some TOA. Just as I pulled the double death charge, I got invited to a 6-man TOA lobby. I'm here on the Iron Man though, as well. I kind of want to just work towards KC on the Iron Man. But any purple splits are going to go on the main anyway, so it's all going to contribute to the Radiant Oathplate grind. Yeah, TOA is looking a lot different these days. You just spec a lot of things and then you end up shadowing them. Can't remember the last time I ran a 6-man TOA, but this is going to be a new PB for sure, like, without a doubt. It's kind of hard to see. There's like a lot of clutter on my screen, like between the potions and all the people and then the attack animations. Kind of crazy. No way I got MVP. It's just that easy. Okay, for next raid, I need to bank or only bring a 1-dose Divine Super Combat. Bring less prayer pots. So what we're gonna do here is simply just stand in the corner. Now we can go take a nap. Well, a little extra effort here. We're gonna ZCB spec. I can't wait for Baba. I want to see what Joe's reaction is because, like, the 2025 post-Doom of Mocha meta for doing the Baba room is stupid. So yeah, like, you know, this room you used to have to melee it, and maybe some Iron Men would bofa it. But now, we just mage this bad boy. Yeah, this is a joke. Oh my god, I can't believe we're about to get a shadow. Oh my god, look at all those PBs. We had everybody, not everybody, exaggeration, but we had like 2 to 3 people die. Oh, detached camera. Oh my god, no way there's a purple, right? Dude, there's no purple. Into another 6-man TOA. Here we go. Hopefully I don't plank at the beginning of Warden this time, shall we? You look visually off. Oh, goodbye, Hosen. You know what? It won't matter anyways. Oh no, we're gonna take damage. Scam game. Oh no, what is going on back there? I think we even just got hit by a banana peel and then the boulder. Okay, that was my last ambrosia dose there. Okay. Another new PB because this time we only lost one member towards the end there. Surely a purple. Surely a purple. Surely... What? Third raid this session with the same group of 6. Three ZCB specs off rip, fantastic. You know, I was just thinking everybody's about to be alive. Never mind. Another new PB, 1820, I think a whole minute quicker. Surely a purple this time, right? Surely? What? Sheesh. Not a new PB this time, unfortunately, but surely a purple, right? Surely a purple. Yes, a purple! Oh, I thought it was mine for a second. But, come on, pull a shadow, pull a shadow. Pull a shadow, please, I need GP. Please. Okay, how much is that worth? How much is a fang worth? Osmumptum's Fang. Free for all, by the way. Actually, you know, depending on how much it's worth, I really don't care. Well, that's gonna do it. Oh, this feels like a quick one. Okay, wow, what a banger sequence. Fresh off the Yama grind, we are now setting our sights on the Duma Mocha. Before we get to actually start farming the boss though, there are a few steps we need to take. First things first, we need to do the final Dawn quest. That's going to give us access to the actual boss. And secondly, we're actually going to be tackling an early game boss first. And here's why. We're going to be doing a Moxiatl. I probably butchered that name, but you know, that kind of comes with any Varlamore name pronunciation, honestly. Regardless, we're going to be doing a Mox because a Mox is going to drop the Pendant of 8, which gives us one of the best teleports to the Duma Mocha fight, with the exception of the Waystone teleports. The teleport's going to help us with the grind, but also we do have 9 combat tasks to achieve here at the Mox fight, and we're just 73 points away from Master Tier. Alright, we're starting up a quest, however, it is actually not the final Dawn. Before we can do that quest, there's actually one prereq quest we have to do, that being the Heart of Darkness. Now, if I'm not mistaken, this quest also actually gives us access to the Mox boss that we mentioned earlier, so regardless, we're going to have to do this quest. Obviously, these quests are going to take us around Varlamore, talk to a few NPCs and whatnot, and I gotta say, the Varlamore region is very well made. Every single part of Varlamore is decked out, you know, the environment, like the aesthetics. I don't know how to really put it, but you just feel very immersed, I suppose, is the best way of putting it. I'm a huge fan of Varlamore, from the early game content that you can do to the end game, like the Colosseum and Duma Mocha. Just a huge fan of the Varlamore region. The beauty of playing a main. So part of this quest, there's a recommendation in the quest helper to go and set up one of the Quetzal locations. On the Iron Man, I've simply been too lazy to acquire Quetzal feed. I don't even know how you go about doing that. So I don't have any of the Quetzal outposts set up on the Iron Man. But on the main, apparently you can simply just buy Quetzal feed. So I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. Here we are just north of the Salvager Outlook. We're going to build a landing site here. Got 3 limestone bricks, 4 clay, and 10 of the Quetzal feed. And now we have a quicker means of travel to get all the way up here. As part of the quest, we have a few trials we have to go through, and I suppose on trial number 2 here, a little bit of a fight. Shouldn't be too complicated, right? I only just have my blowpipe here, so I think we'll be okay. Final Dawn bosses, on the other hand, or the fights in that quest, are a little bit more complicated. We'll probably have to be a little bit more geared for that. Okay, we got through the second trial relatively easily. What I didn't realize in the moment until near the end was that there were these boxes here with the medical aids, and I had to keep the prince alive. It was getting kind of close there. I realized just in time to heal the prince. But yeah, we got it done. Let's move on with the quest. I don't know if this was already known back then when the Heart of Darkness came out, because, well, the Final Dawn was Varlamore Part 3, right? And Varlamore came out in 3 different huge updates. But apparently in the Heart of Darkness quest, they already mentioned the actual quest name, Final Dawn. I must not have paid much attention, honestly, in the previous times I've done this quest. One more trial awaits. Face your opponent. Wait, we gotta fight the prince? Okay, this fight might be a little bit more interesting, right? Oh. We're about to be out of prayer. I do have sharks with me, so I think we'll be okay. Also, blowpipe spec. Wait. Oh, I saw the protect range on above him for a second there, and I was like, wait, I might have to TP out if I need a separate style, but maybe I won't. Alrighty. Wasn't properly geared for that, but we made it work. We're in the final portions of the quest. We gotta make it through this ice cave. Maybe fight a few NPCs, and I believe at the end, actually, we fight the Amox boss itself. So, I did TP out. I geared up with some Best in Slot Crush, some food, prayer pots, and whatnot, and we should be good to go, but first we gotta make it through this whole ice cave thing, and then we'll fight the boss at the end. Okay, we've made it through the cave. Here we are at the Amox Arena. That's Amoxiatl itself, actually. Level 226. As soon as the fight starts, let's switch into our Inquisitor's gear. The prince just absolutely poofed, and everybody's TPing away, leaving me one-on-one with the boss. Here we go. Let's pot up. I think we pray mage here. It's actually, it's been a while since I've been at this boss, so I'm not actually sure how this goes. I think we pray mage, though. Perhaps the quest variant is easier than the normal one, too. I don't know. Either way, though, it's an early game boss. We don't have to be too concerned with things. These unstable ice, we just have to get rid of them real quick. And then back onto the boss. Dodge the ice spikes. And a couple more swings here and we'll actually be done. Yeah, the quest version plays out exactly the same way as the normal version. Oh, where did we get put? You know, I really don't remember that part of the quest. Alright, but that's the Amox fight done. Let's finish the quest by talking to some more people. There we go, the Heart of Darkness completed. We'll get to hold on to some Fashionscape, as well as gain 2 quest points and a little bit of EXP, nothing too crazy. It was a relatively easy quest. The Final Dawn, which is the next one we're going to do, is the big one. It might even be considered a Grand Master quest. In fact, wow, you know, talking to the same NPC, we might as well start the Final Dawn now. The first time I did this quest, it was right on release, so there was definitely no quest helper. This time around, brain off, don't have to do any reading, just click on the highlighted things around the room. I will say though, doing this quest without any help was actually very satisfying. It was a fun quest to do. I remember on release, this boss was very, very confusing. It turns out you can't use any prayer. Okay, we gotta step back when it does that attack. And then it does a lunge, we just gotta sidestep that. Yeah, the blowpipe's probably the move here. I can't seem to equip my range armor. my Missouri, so I guess we're just stuck with this. Oh, mistakes were made. We're bleeding. We do have some food with us, though, so we'll be okay. Sidestep. Couple more hits here, and we should be good. There we go. When it came to this part of the quest without the quest helper, I felt like an absolute genius. Basically, we had to figure out how to get in the house. We hopped in the window, and then, you know, we give the dog a bone to distract it. And, like, there's just a lot of things that you need to solve with context clues given around the room, right? For example, quest helper right here just tells us what the code is, but without the quest helper, you can pet the dog, and then you'll see that the name tag is Gus. Now, I don't know if it's Gus for everybody, but there we go. Gus is the code for the door, and there's just a lot of little clues. For example, there's potatoes laying around the room. You know, maybe you got to empty it. It's a lot of problem solving with context clues and whatnot, what's given to you, and it was pretty exciting to do without the quest helper. But second time around, I'm just trying to get the quest done, so click on the highlighted items. This part of the quest was a lot of fun too. There's different types of alcoholic drinks that you have to put on certain barrels. And when you inspect the barrels, they actually give you context clues. For example, this one says parts of the barrel have been stained by some sort of black liquid. So you go over the cabinet, and that one's actually going to be the Dwarven Stout, if I'm not mistaken. We'll double check with the quest helper later, but yeah, you know, you can figure it out without the quest helper with just a little bit of reading. All right, I believe we did it all correctly. There was a lever we pulled at the fireplace. A little bit of a cliche there, right? You know, something hidden in the fireplace. But there we go. Another fight encounter here. One of the mages, and I believe the other one ranges. They should be off tick, so if we want, we can just flick between the two. But also, we are in Torva armor, so I doubt the ranger's going to do that much damage to us. They do have some special attacks as well. As you saw, I had to dodge some fireballs there. And what is this, actually? I probably should have read, you know? I probably should have read. Although, you know, on day one, I did have to figure this out on the fly. I don't quite remember what that does. Is that a mage attack? That seems to be a mage attack. Okay, one down. Now we just focus on the ranger. All in all the fights in the Final Dawn quest are very engaging, very fun. It's nice when these fights are just beyond clicking the mob and then eating, you know? There's actually mechanics to it, which are pretty cool. And there's going to be a few more boss encounters before we finish this quest. Honestly, this quest has a good balance between fight encounters as well as some puzzles that you solve. So here we are, we're solving another puzzle, and then we're going to have to do one more. And then we're going to be pretty much done with all the puzzles in the quest, if I remember correctly. There are one or two more fights, though. For this puzzle, I thought it was pretty interesting because you can actually move the NPC that's with you, as well as your own character. Just a cool dynamic. I'm not sure if they really introduced this type of thing in any other quest, or anywhere else in the game for that matter. With the help of the quest helper, I did this in under a minute, but on release, these two puzzles, actually, both puzzles here, actually did take me a fair bit. As soon as I saw this NPC, this came back to me. This is going to be a very, very cool fight. So you got a flame wall, so this is similar to like the Zabak waves, and a few other encounters too. I think the Judge of Yama in the Kingdom Divide quest. But that's just one mechanic. There's many, many more mechanics. We saw the circle mechanic earlier. The visuals of this is just crazy too. So we have to dodge the flame walls by hitting the teleports. That's pretty neat as well. Now it's maging us. We're going to have to get into these circles. Water walls now. Find the opening. And oh, see, I messed up there. You actually do have to time those, otherwise you end up eating the wall anyways. Oh, back to range. I should have brought a spec weapon, honestly. I've just been poking everything with my rapier here. Very nice. So you do have to time these. There we go. Oh, maging again now. Three sets of these this time. Oh, okay. Yep, and this is going to be the final section here. Honestly, this is probably much easier with a ranged weapon. But we only have the rapier here, so we're going to have to run up to the NPC here, and then make it to the portal. We're not doing much damage, unfortunately. There we go. Here we are pretty much on the doorsteps of the Doom of Mocha fight. Through this doorway, this entrance here, there's a little room. That's the Doom of Mocha lobby. But we have to wrap up this quest. We just gotta inspect these things around. And, you know, for the life of me, I couldn't find a skeleton at the time. Like, I didn't see this. And I was wondering what to do, but there we go. Just read a little message left behind from some fella there. Speak to the prince and the queen one final time. And here comes the quest rewards, which are pretty interesting, actually. The Archon Blade, which is actually very, very strong. We also get an EXP lamp. 55,000 combat EXP lamp, so it doesn't really matter what we're going to put that in. But 3 quest points, 55k thieving, 25k fletching, 25k rune crafting. The rewards from the quest are no joke. And most importantly, access to Mocha. I don't know how to pronounce the full thing, so we're just not going to. But there we have it, the Final Dawn completed. With the completion of both the Heart of Darkness and the Final Dawn quest, we now have access to both the Amox boss as well as the Doom of Mocha boss. Before we can make it to Doom of Mocha, we're going to need the teleport from the Pendant of 8 here at the Amox boss. Beyond that, we also have 9 combat achievements to do here. I believe we'll be able to knock out all 9 of these. We're just 73 points away from Master Tier. While doing these combat achievements isn't going to get us to that threshold, it is going to get us closer, so we're going to look to do that. As for our setup here, we are decked out in our best available crush. So we got the Inquisitors, we got the Scythe, and in our inventory, we got Dragon Claws as a DPS spec weapon. If we need it, we're going to use the Saradomin Godsword as well for a bit of sustain. Obviously, the Divine Super Combat Pot, a bunch of prayer, a couple of food pieces in case we need it, and even a Blood Fury if we want to extend the trip. There are some combat achievements here where we may have to just one and done and teleport out, but one of them is to do 10 KC without leaving, so I suppose we'll go ahead and try to do that first. We're also on the Arceus spellbook, and I forgot to bring my Book of the Dead, so no thralls, but at least we have Death Charge, which, by the way, now we have double Death Charge, so that's good news, I suppose. I'm a little stubborn here. I should probably TP out to bring my Book of the Dead, but you know what? We're just going to commit to the 10 KC. In our first KC, we also get a Moxiatal Champion. That's probably just the 1 KC. And we also got Speed Trialist and Totally Shattered. I'm not sure what Totally Shattered is. Kill a Moxiatal without any of her unstable ice shattering. Okay, well, that was simple enough. That was also a 32-second KC, which is incredibly fast. I believe the Grandmaster time, if we can call it that, is sub 30, so wow, we should have made use of our claws, and that probably would have got us that time too, but I really wasn't prepared for that. Let's see what happens on the second KC here. Nagua Negation. Let's see what that one is. Without taking any damage. Okay, so that's like a perfect KC right there. A 41-second one right there, so not so lucky that time. If only we were paying a bit more attention to that first one, we would have recognized we were absolutely pacing and gotten the GM time right then and there. So we did get a collection log for Frozen Tears amidst all of those combat achievement pop-ups. We are going to need to stack up some Frozen Tears for our Pendant of 8s. our teleport necklace. Although I think as a main we can also buy them, so not an issue there, really. Oh, this feels like a quick one. Okay, wow, what a banger sequence. We got the Grandmaster speed time. Or actually, I guess it's an elite combat task. Makes sense, this is an early game boss. But we got the sub 30, which is actually pretty difficult to do being a early game boss. But not only did we do that, we also got ourselves the pendant, which is what we were after. All this, and we still haven't reached 10 KC yet. All things considered, we have been very, very fortunate here at this boss. We are just now working on KC number 10. 10 in one trip was the combat achievement we were after first, but along the way, we got multiple combat achievements. We even got the collection log for the pendant. All that's missing is the glacial, you know what, once again, not even going to try to pronounce it, but the dual weapons that are available here. There is one combat achievement where we're going to need to get one of those and fight the boss with said dual weapons. If we don't end up getting it, we can also simply just go to the Grand Exchange and purchase it. But there we have it, 10 KC, a hard combat task. With the 10 KC out the way, I just stepped out of the fight to look at the combat task to see what we should tackle next. I think we're going to do with Ralos Light real quick, and that's simply to not lose any prayer points. The easiest way to do this is simply, well, not use my prayer. We are going to take a fair bit of damage here. I'm going to slap on the Blood Fury, and hopefully that keeps us alive. I am being a bit greedy here by not banking. I only have the one Karambwan in my inventory, actually, so it's not great. You know what? Before I plank here and lose 500k, because, well, deaths are actually very expensive on a main, I'm just going to TP out. Let's not be stupid. Well, that was a short-lived attempt. Since I had to teleport out anyways, I went ahead and came to the GE to buy myself these Glacial Tet Motleys, the dualies that I was mentioning earlier. That's going to be used for one of the combat achievements. And beyond that and the no prayer one, we just need 20 KC. So let's get back to it. As we're running back to the boss, let's talk about the Pendant of Eights that we required. Now, the Pendant of Eights, we can think of it like the Xerix Talisman for Zaya, but instead, it's the Xerix Talisman of the Varlamore region. And we do have to touch these statues around the Varlamore area. There's one's placed, well, there's one right here, just outside the Amok's dungeon. There's one next to Huey Caudle, which... Where's Huey? Isn't Huey on this big mountain here? I guess we haven't done the quest to unlock that or something. I don't know. We haven't done Huey on this account yet. There are some free combat achievements to be done at the Huey boss as well. And there's also going to be a statue close-ish to the Duma Mocha place. I say close-ish because, well, it's a pretty long run nonetheless. Anyways, let's get back to the boss and finish out the combat achievements here. Alright, one final thing before we hop back in. I just had to correct myself in that previous clip. Huey is located on this mountain right here. You can see the icon, Pendant of Eights, TP to the Dark Frost, and then you run around like this. You can see the bank icon here. This is the mountain that Huey Caudle is on. Although, you know, wouldn't you think it would make more sense if it was on this bigger mountain? You know, it'd be more epic that way, but I guess not. It's actually over here. Into the Amok's fight we go. Gotta remind myself not to use prayer. In fact, you know, I'm not sure if I can use thralls because that's gonna cost prayer. Let's just not summon thralls just in case. And then after this, we'll go ahead and use the dualies to complete the other combat achievement. And then all that remains is the 20 KC one, which should be absolutely free. Alright, let's go ahead and eat up here. Again, playing on a main account and realizing how expensive deaths are, I want to actively avoid that. We do have the Blood Fury on as well. Something I would never be using on an Iron Man. Just can't be bothered to upkeep those. But a nice quality of life here. Couple of more swings should do the trick. We could do some prayer flicking, but I'm just not risking it, you know. Just this method's going to be guaranteed. Can't really mess up here unless I randomly decide to turn on my prayers. There we go. Without Ralos Light completed. Just 2 more combat tasks to go. For the second KC. Hopefully Thralls doesn't fail it this one either. But we're going to be using the dualies here. I did summon a Thrall, no fail message, so far so good. And what am I doing? Let's turn on my prayer. I can use prayer on this one, so let's not take needless damage. And there we go. And we get a Huasca seed, however you pronounce that. Those are used for the prayer regeneration potions and a couple other things. Fun fact, you didn't always get these here. This was a relatively new thing. Before, those seeds were exclusive to Huey Coddle. Alright, we can go back to using the scythe now. We just need 20 KC. We can also use our claws and summon thralls. Alrighty, one final KC. Oh, we don't have spec. I guess I forgot the death charge previously. Well, one final KC and we will have green logged the combat task here at a Mox. We'll also check how many points remain until we hit Master Tier. One final swing. There we have it. A Moxiatal Adept. Let's pick up those Frozen Tears. Again, those Frozen Tears are used to charge the pendant. Consumes one every time we use a teleport. Stepping outside the arena, let's open up the combat task here. We are 100% done with a Moxiatal. 46 points to go. So if I can do math correctly, I believe all of these combat achievements here gave us 27 points. As far as the collection log goes, we didn't actually get the dualies, we just purchased those from the Grand Exchange, and of course we are missing the pet. Well, that's going to do it for this video. We had a few goals in mind for this one today, and actually we've accomplished all of them. On our way to Radiant Oathplate, we also have a few side goals, one of them being Master Tier combat achievements again. We're just now 46 points away after the completion of the Moxiatal boss combat achievements, so that's good to get out the way. Also, we did have to do a few quests, that being the Heart of Darkness to unlock a Moxiatal, and the final Dawn quest, which gives us access to the Doom of Mocha. I can't wait to do Doom of Mocha because it's genuinely a fun boss, and we're also going to get even more combat achievements done, although I'm not quite sure that we're going to be able to do all of them. They are a bit difficult, to be honest. So that's going to put us closer to Master Tier, and also the rewards from Doom of Mocha are just absolutely insane, from the Avernic Treads to the Eye of Ayak, the Confliction Gauntlets, and whatnot. Again, this account is a main normal account, not an Iron Man, so we do have the option of purchasing the items. Well, perhaps not right now we don't have that option because we're actually pretty poor and we're in a bit of a pickle right now. We have just 1 day of membership left, so we're going to have to purchase some bonds. And also, we can't even afford another Tormented Synapse right now if, we're going to be spending GP on a bond to get a Scorching Bow, which is a very vital piece of weaponry if you want to farm Doom of Mocha. Now, between recordings, I have been making some GP, whether that's raiding on this account or the Iron Man. There have been a few purples here and there, but I've been doing team raids a lot and splitting out an Eladinus ward or even an Avernic, which is currently worth about 40 to 50 mil, somewhere in that ballpark. Splitting between 4 or 5 people, yeah, that's not a whole lot of GP. So I guess between now and the start of the Doom of Mocha grind, we'll get situated, try to grind out some GP, purchase what we need, and then we will begin the Mocha grind. So I guess between now and the start of the Doom of Mocha grind, we'll get situated, try to grind out some GP, purchase what we need, and then we will begin the Mocha grind. No way, he just said, I'm gonna get foresight. There's nothing you can do, and he pulls it. Oh my god. That's his foresight on the account. I need that GP bad. Good timing. Back to back side. Back to back side. No way. Back to back side. Previously, we've been doing a whole lot of things to set our account up to do Doom of Mocha. Well, today's finally the day, and we also got our hands on a third Tormented Synapse so that we can make the Scorching Bow, which is probably the most vital weapon for the grind. That being said, let's go get geared up now that we have the Scorching Bow. We've geared up now, and I mostly matched what I used on the Iron Man, with a few exceptions. For example, right now we don't have the Avernic Treads yet, so we're using Devout Boots. The regular Pagations aren't all that good, in my opinion. We do have the ZCB that's going to be huge for waves 6 through 8, and just speeding up the entire run in general. We have the Purging Staff, our newly bought Tormented Synapse we turned into the Scorching Bow just now, and of course we have the Emberlight. This is mostly just to deal with the grubs and the shield phase. We do have the Twisted Bow, which is going to be our main weapon here. And we have a 4-way switch for the melee punish. Nothing too crazy. And then the rest of our inventory is just filled up with potions and food. Now, we're not bringing any brews or anything like that because I don't plan on doing incredibly deep delves. I think the game plan right now is to do 8s to 10s and then reclaim the loot and then reset. Now, I do have the Pendant of 8s in our inventory. That's going to be our method of transport getting to the Doom Mocha. However, we can't use it yet, as we haven't been to Castori, which is the teleport we're going to be using. So first things first, we're going to have to use the Quetzal transportation to go touch that statue to unlock the method of transport. If you don't have the Pendant of 8s, I think the next best method is to TP into Varlamore, the city here, and then travel with the Quetzal over to Tal Teklan. Once you're here, there's actually a bank just towards the northeast of this little town, but you run east and then down into the cavern. Now, if you plan on using the Pendant of 8s, which is exactly what we're doing, we have to activate the statue right here. This statue is located east and maybe slightly southeast from the cavern entrance. So when we use that, we TP to Castori, and then we run west to the cavern entrance. This is just a little bit closer. The thing is, even after all that running, you still have to come down here and run for like another 30 seconds north. Now, there are some teleport tabs, I should say, available in this chest right here that we can place down, and that's probably going to save you running like maybe like 20 tiles or so. So let's go ahead and place that, and then we'll run just before this doorway here and place one down somewhere in this area. Yeah, there we go. All right, I've TP'd out to pre-pot and restore my run energy. Back we go. Let's utilize the teleporter. There we go. That saved a little bit of running. But then you'll see we have to continue running. Now, those waystones, I believe those waystones will put you here in this room, the center of this room. But I just checked the Grand Exchange, and those things are worth like 200k. It's honestly ridiculous. I'm not going to be using that. This was where you get put at the end of the quest. And then here we are in the room. There's a scoreboard here view general stats, you can see that we have not done any delves at all. And there's also a more detailed board here, breaking it down by each delve. All right, let's get in there. Open up with a ZCB spec. I'm on the wrong spellbook, so that's not a good start. I do have the max K with me, though, so I can go ahead and switch to Arceus. I have the right runes, though, so that's good. We're not going to be using Thralls, because if you didn't know, the Thralls will cause more poison to show up on the ground, as... Well, it's not Thrall specifically, but the more hit splats you do, the more poison there is going to be on the ground. And if we're going to be doing deep delves, or even if we're not doing deep delves, it's just easier to manage without all the poison on the ground. Now, you can't get any uniques on Wave 1, but starting on Wave 2 or Delve 2, you can get the Cloth. On Delve 3, you can get the Eye of Ayak, I believe. And on Delve 4, you can get the Boots. So you don't necessarily have to do deep delves to get the uniques here, but you do get better odds. Cumulative odds if nothing else. Oh, Doom Adept. Now, I haven't even come back to Mocha on the Iron Man for the combat achievements yet, and we're not really going to go out of our way to do all the combat achievements, but whatever ones we pick up along the way for free, we're going to go ahead and knock those out. Or rather, we will take. Interesting that we get a Wave 3 clear, and then we get Doom Adept. I don't actually know what the Mocha combat achievements are. I never really took a close look at them. Exposed Doom. I suppose that one's a melee punish finish. Which just requires, you know, like, the timing to line up. Nothing special there. Since I'm not using the Waystones, I'll be selling them, and I suppose that's actually good money in itself right there. Now, during car phase, you actually have 100% accuracy, which is why the Elite Void is so good. There we go, our first Mocha run on this account, and we get a clear. We're actually just going to claim the loot here. We're going to warm ourselves up. We'll do some post-Delve 8 runs for sure, but, you know, for now, on this first one, we're getting warmed up. We'll take the loot. We got 3 combat achievements for clearing Delve 8 there, and we also picked up like 1 or 2 combat achievements along the way up to 8. But yeah, we will be taking that. We barely used any supplies, mostly just prayer and then 1 piece of shark, just to keep our health high. We'll be claiming the loot, thank you very much. We had a couple of collection logs as well. The demon tears are collection logs, and the waystones are collection logs, along with the actual rare uniques from this boss. So in just one Doom Mocha run up to Delve 8, we actually completed 1/3 of the combat achievements from this boss. There are 15, and we managed to complete 5 of them. Now, I'm sure some of these are just KC. Although, I suppose Doom Veteran... You know what? Maybe there isn't a total KC one, you know? Like, Doom Mocha is structured differently than any other bosses. The only thing that shows up on high scores is deep delves, meaning 8+ runs. But yeah, there's other ones. I know there's a melee only one. Perfect Doom, we actually slipped up at some point early, not even on 7 or 8, but we slipped up on like Delve 5 or something like that. But yeah, lots to look into here. And I'm sure we'll pick up 1 or 2 more of them, but I think some of these we're going to have to go out of our way for. Okay, I just accidentally did another combat achievement on Wave 11. Mopping up. I believe that's clearing 8+ Venom Tiles with the orb. I unintentionally did that, but there we go. I'm gonna go ahead and claim here. My supplies are looking a little low. Again, just by doing the content, we got another combat task. Doom Mocha being an endgame boss, a lot of these tasks are anywhere between Elite to Master to Grandmaster combat tasks. So they award a lot of points. With that being said, we're now just 2 points away from re-obtaining Master Tier combat achievements. There it is. Mine's better. And with that being done, Master Tier. Alright, we got the Mine's Better combat achievement done, which put us into the Master Tier for combat achievements. Now for this task, it was actually pretty difficult in the sense that it took so long, because that took me 17 minutes to do a regular 1 through 8 delve completion. We have to keep a shield on. We opted for the Twisted Buckler, which is a ranged DPS offhand, and counts as a shield as well. We used a Zerite crossbow with some diamond bolts, but that was not very good at Mocha, because this setup pretty much dissuades you from using the Twisted Bow and the Scorching Bow, the 2 best in slot items available to farm Mocha. Nevertheless, we got it done. Let's get out of here. Well, actually, let's claim our loot and then get out of here. I almost just straight up TP'd out of here. That would have been bad. Of course, with that being done, we had to make the trip over to the Warriors Guild. We're going to speak to the NPC here. Knock knock. Now, it used to be Gommel, but after a while, Gothic sleeps, I believe is the quest. Well, Gommel is no longer with us, but either way, we're here to talk about combat achievements, reclaim some rewards, or actually not reclaim some rewards, that's the wrong dialogue. I think I've completed a combat tier. There we go, Master Rewards, that's going to be Gommel's Lucky Penny, which we actually already have, and Gommel's Hilt 5, we actually have a whole bunch of those sitting in the bank as well. We got increased thrall time, I think more cannonball slots, and we can now wear the Vampiric Slayer helmet once again. All those gameplay perks aside, of course, we can also combine the hilt with the Avernic, and we get Gommel's Avernic Defender 5. We are still chipping away at Doom of Mocha, and honestly having a lot of fun. It is very nice content. We did get a good chunk of combat achievements out the way, and we are once again Master Tier. I'm not going to look to do any more of the Doom of Mocha CAs for now. Pretty content where I am. What I do want to do is start filling out this collection log. Unfortunately, we don't have any items or the pet yet. At this boss, the pet is actually roughly the same rate as pulling these items, so it's actually not too crazy to expect a pet. We're only at 167 total delves though, so it's still early days, and we can't really expect anything just yet. With that being said, since I came into a bit of GP, I took the liberties of buying a Eye of Ayak. Now, I specifically bought this one item because, well, it serves to one-shot all the mage grubs, and it's nice to bring into the Doom of Mocha fight because every delve we clear, we're going to get a free 10 to 20 demon tears, or charges rather, put into our Eye of Ayak. This is sometime later, but I believe last time we checked in, we were at about 150, 160 total delves. Well, if we look in the collection log now, we are now at 306 total delves. So we kind of doubled it in a sense. You can see our deepest delve is 11 and our deep delves now is 54. So we've been doing 8s, 9s, 10s, and the occasional 11s. I've just been bringing hard food like sharks, karambwans, and anglerfish, so we haven't necessarily tried to do a super deep delve run. I am really after the loot, to be honest. Some consistent GP is better than no GP, as much as I want the rewards, the uniques as well. Speaking of uniques, unfortunately no uniques yet, although I do think we are at about the rate for one drop. But, you know, with the way RNG works, just because we're at the rate doesn't mean that we're guaranteed a drop. So we just have to keep going, and again, being a main, at any point we can tap out, but if I could just get the Avernic Treads myself instead of buying them, that would be wonderful. Oh! Glowing hole, you know what that means. Let's check it out. Please be a Vernic Treads. Please be a Vernic Treads. Okay, man. You know, typically when you get a pet at any boss, you'd be happy. But as I said before earlier in the video, the pet is just as likely, or almost just as likely, as any of the other drops. But, you know, at least this is our first pet, so, you know, it's new to us on this account. There we go. So that was Dom at total delves 337. Now we've done 58 deep delves, and according to our tracker on the Runelight sidebar here, we've done 27 9 pluses. Okay, new PB. We're going to go ahead and claim here. Delve 12 on this account. And the loot is, whatever. Just doing another check-in here. We're currently over 400 total delves. In fact, 415 to be exact, with 74 deep delves. So we've been doing 8 plus somewhat consistently, although we're not getting very far because I'm not exactly packing my inventory up with brews or anything like that. Plus, I'm using a scythe as my melee punish, so the room really does get filled with acid. And I do want to be claiming most of my loot rather than just sending until I potentially die, because, well, deaths are expensive and I do want to be making GP. With that being said, we don't have any items yet. We do have the pet, but no items. At this point in time, I'd say I'm still enjoying the Doom of Mocha grind to a certain extent, and I'd very much like to get at least one of these items. Now, if we pull the Eye of Ayak, I'm just going to be straight up selling that because we preemptively bought one of those. Now, when it comes to the Vernic Treads, this is the thing that I'm hoping to pull the most because these things are a whopping, I think, 260 mil at the moment, just under 300 mil. The cloth is pretty nice as well, so that we can upgrade the Tormented Bracelet ourselves into the Confliction Gauntlets. But yeah, if we pull the Eye of Ayak, we're selling that. If we're pulling the other two items, we're keeping it. The goal for me right now is that hopefully we pull one more item, and from that point on, we'll kind of reassess if we want to continue doing Doom Momoka or move on to other grinds, continuing our path to Radiant Oathplate. Okay, that is kind of a wasted death charge right there. Ooh! Item! Wave 4? Wait, can these be treads? Yeah, they can. This could be treads. What are we getting? Eye of Ayak. You know what? We will take it. We already have one because I preemptively bought one, but worth a lot of GP. We can go ahead and sell this bad boy. That was total delves 487. Let's go take the eye out of the loot here and bank everything else. Oh yeah, it comes in noted form for some reason. But yeah, let's take a look at the collection log here. 487 total delves. That was deep delves 90 as well. We only pulled that on a delve 4 though, funny enough. So yeah, we got one item on the board. You know what? I think I will keep going. At the very least, we'll go for like another few hours here, and then we'll see if we want to continue. But getting a drop, certainly a motivation boost. Alright, I hit the GE. Let's go ahead and sell this right away. Actively traded price is almost 72 mil, although the automatic market price, or whatever, like the Grand Exchange recommended, is at 70 mil. What happens if we put it in for like 71 mil? Will it sell? It will sell. Nice. Alright, plus 70 mil just like that. It's been a few days since I pulled the Eye of Ayak, and I have done one or two more Mocha runs, but honestly, I haven't really done all that much more. Pulling up the collection log now, you can see that we're at 99 deep delves, total delves of 545, so really not that much more, like I said. And with that being said, I think I am tapping out of the Doom of Mocha grind. There were two reasons why I wanted to go to Doom of Mocha myself. One thing was the combat achievements, in which we've done 10 out of 15 of the tasks, and this ultimately put us back into the master tier combat tier. Also, at the time we were quite poor in GP, so we really needed to get stuff like the Avernic Treads and the Eye of Ayak ourselves. However, our fortunes changed when we did some Theater of Blood, some hard modes, and we pulled back-to-back sites as a team, so a lot of GP came in that way. And now we have the luxury of simply purchasing the Avernic Treads and the Confliction Gauntlets. We already have the Eye of Ayak, I already mentioned that I purchased that preemptively. But yeah, I think I'm going to be buying out the rest of the items. I am just a little underrate, or I should say I'm not quite due for a second drop yet, but considering we have the pet and the Eye of Ayak already, I'd say we are actually pretty lucky. But at this point in time, I don't feel like doing any more mocha. Our ultimate goal, as I've said, is to get Radiant Oathplate, and the sooner we move on to the next goal we want to achieve along the way, the quicker we're going to get the Radiant Oathplate. Here we are at the Grand Exchange. Let's just go ahead and purchase the Avernic Treads real quick. 274 mil. Let's see if that insta buys. It does. Oh, actually, it was right about 270 mil. Very nice. And let's go ahead and buy the actual Confliction Gauntlets. Now, we do have the Tormented Bracelets in our inventory, but the Mokai Cloth is untradeable. So what we're going to do is purchase the Confliction Gloves for about 110 mil here. A little less than that. And then we're going to take off the Ornament Kit on the Tormented Bracelet. And then we're going to go ahead and sell the Tormented Bracelet. And I guess we'll go ahead and sell the kit as well, which is, wow, not worth much at all. So we get a little bit GP back. And there we have it. We have the Confliction Gauntlets. But let's go ahead and infuse the Avernic Treads with the boots. I forget if I can just straight up use them. Oh, right. We need Demon Tears as well. Completely forgot about that. How many Demon Tears do we have in our bank? We actually have enough. Perfect. So let's go ahead and use the Primordials into the Treads. There we go. The Eternal Boots and the Pegasians. Now we have the max Avernic Treads. With 2.5k Demon Tears left to spare, I can go ahead and chuck those into the Eye of Ayak, I think. We also have the Confliction Gauntlets. And we have 206 mil remaining. Well, that's going to do it for this video. We definitely started out with a very unexpected twist. However, it was in good fortune, so I really can't complain. We were 600 mil richer just like that. And that afforded us the opportunity to do as much Doom of Mocha as we wanted, and then simply tap out and purchase the Avernic Treads and the Confliction Gauntlets. We're going to be moving on to a few other things now before we finally start stocking up the contracts and really digging down and studying how to do all the contracts for Radiant Oathplate. The point of the series was to ultimately get Radiant Oathplate, but beyond that, also just restore the account into a more respectable state. You know, make sure we have the best in slot gear, re-obtain master tier. One day we will go for Grandmaster, but more than likely we're going to go for that on the Iron Man. And then once I achieve that on the Iron Man, I will come back to the main and maybe consider it. But if I'm going to get Grandmaster combat tier on one account, it would rather be my Iron Man than my main account. After years of grinding, every skill maxed, every quest complete, I did what anyone else would do. Start an Iron Man. The Iron Man journey is ongoing, and quite frankly, never ending. But that account has reached horizons this one never did. At that point, is this account really a main? This isn't a fresh start, this is a comeback story. Welcome to main character energy. The time is finally here. Our Radiant Oathplate grind officially begins now. When we bonded up the main account again, this was our ultimate goal, but we had some stepping stones along the way. We had a checklist and we managed to check just about everything off. With the great fortunes from the back-to-back scythes, we didn't end up going to chambers after all, so unfortunately still no twisted kits on the account. But nevertheless, we move forward. Let's break down what is required to acquire Radiant Oathplate. First things first, obviously, you need the armor itself, the regular Oathplate armor. We were fortunate enough to pull the legs and the top ourselves, although we did have to split with our duo partner, so we essentially got it for 50% off in a sense. We do need the helmet though. Secondly, once you have the Oathplate armor, you do need to complete 5 different Yama contracts. Each contract is its own unique spin on top of just being a buffed variant of the base level boss. And these contracts are solo. That is another key difference there as well. For each contract we complete, we will obtain a part of the Purifying Sigil. With the sigil and 2,500 Aether runes per piece of armor, totaling to 7,500, we can then convert our regular Oathplate into its Radiant version. 4 of the 5 contracts, we will be utilizing magic, and I know for one particular one, it's going to require Crush weapons. I don't really have a game plan going into this. I heard that Forfeit Breath was the easiest contract, and Bloodied Blows and Sensory Clouding were among the more difficult ones. I think I'm going to start with Divine Severance. I don't know where this falls in terms of difficulty, but it's probably not the easiest or the hardest. One final note before we get started on the contracts. I just want to reiterate that I'm going to acquire Radiant Oathplate twice in succession here. Once I get a contract completion on the main account, I will then try to complete it on my Iron Man. I have the luxury of my Iron Man being ready for this grind just as my main is. Whereas back with the Blorva grind, I essentially had to relearn the Awakened bosses when my Iron Man was finally in position to go for it. Let's take a look at the contract terms for Divine Severance. Some of the restraints on Yama strength will be removed. Yama deactivates protection prayers on sight. Yama no longer penetrates prayers. Yama spawns Void Flares continuously. Void Flare explosions are lethal. The challenger must be alone. And if we succeed, we will receive 1 Purifying Sigil right. Let's take a look at our gear and inventory setup here for Divine Severance. We're decked out in our Max Mage setup here, along with the Purging Staff. We're going to be auto-casting Dark Demon Bane here. And as always, whenever you're on the spellbook, you do want to cast Mark of Darkness. You want to use Thralls, and we're going to be utilizing Death Charge and Ward of Arceus as well. In our inventory here, we have the Saradomin Godsword as a melee weapon. That's just going to be used to damage the Judge of Yama. And we can also spec it to get some health and prayer back in a pinch. We also have the Eye of Ayak here. This is just going to be for magic reduction. We're only using the Eye of Ayak for its special attack. I'm not sure how long the encounter is going to be, so we're going to be bringing in the Saturated Heart. We have our Surge Potion just to get spec back if we need to. Sandfew, I'm pretty sure Yama does poison you, so we can either choose to pre-pot an anti-venom, but we can also just bring a Sandfew serum in as well because it serves both as prayer restore, stat restore, and anti-venom. We got restores and then just anglers and Karam ones, a little bit of combo eats just in case things really hit the fan. And yes, on the main account, I unfortunately do not have Lumbridge Elite done. Or more specifically, I don't have Lumby Hard done because I never went to Mage Training Arena on this account. So in order to get there, we are going to be using the Drummond Staff. And no, I don't feel like shelling out the extra GP for the Teleport Scrolls. Full disclosure if you couldn't tell, but this is now post-commentary as we run through the footage of my Divine Severance run. I'll be disclosing the number of attempts it took me at the end of this contract, as well as the end of the video as we compare each contract to another. Full unedited VODs of each contract will also be uploaded separately and linked in the description. Let's talk about Divine Severance and what makes this contract challenging, for me personally and just in general. First things first, you can't camp your overhead prayers. They will automatically be turned off after 2 ticks. As such, you have to time your hits with Yama's Snap, Mage, and range auto attacks. This is mostly a non-issue in the first 2 phases of the encounter, as things are pretty chill there, but amidst the chaos during phase 3, it can occasionally catch you out. On the flip side though, when you do pray against them correctly, you take absolutely 0 damage. There is no chip damage in this contract. I will say, all the difficulty lies in phase 3, where you are dodging the waves, which aren't the same as regular Yama by the way. The waves will occasionally be off-center, forcing you to have to dodge with an L movement. It's just another added level of chaos while trying to DPS the boss, deal with void flares, and just avoid damage all around. With this contract, I managed to get my first completion after using 132 contracts. I chose to track contracts instead of deaths, which would have been added effort to account for, as sometimes I managed to teleport out to save myself from the death fees. In hindsight, I don't think this contract warranted 132 contracts for two reasons. I have very little solo Yama experience, so I really had to start from scratch. The second reason, I have a bad habit of what I call doom sending. This is where I keep spamming attempts even where I might be better off taking a break due to fatigue or even tilt. Or even to simply analyze my mistakes and continue learning the fight. Basically, of these 132 contracts, the majority were used on day 1, and after a good night's rest, I was able to get it relatively quickly on day number 2. One down, 4 more to go. After I got my first completion, I went ahead and did a second completion on the main before moving on to the Iron Man, just to ensure to myself that I understood how to tackle this contract. And well, I was given a little extra reward for that. What the? Okay, I'll take it. It's just that easy. While I did die once in between the first clear and the second, it gave me the confidence boost to send it on the Iron Man. That confidence was well founded as I managed to one and done it there. First try on the Iron, let's go. We only had 3 Divine Severance contracts on this account too. Whew. Alright. Let's take a look at the contract terms for Bloodied Blows. Some of the restraints on Yama's strength will be removed. Void Flares are spawned in higher quantities. Void Flares are more resistant to attacks. Both Yama and Challenger gain Wretched Strength. Challenger must be alone, and if we succeed, we will get 1 Purifying Sigil middle. It's time to talk about the gear and inventory setup for the Bloodied Blows contract. Now before we really get into it, I do have to mention the Wretched Strength mechanic once again, as it does play a factor in our choices in our inventory. Basically, if you don't know what Wretched Strength is, think of Darok, where the lower your health is, the higher your max hit is. But yeah, let's get into it. Our actual gear here is actually exactly the same as we geared up in Divine Severance, Max Mage with the Purging Staff. However, this time around in our inventory, we do have the Tunic and Shadow. For this contract, I feel confident enough to DPS with the Shadow on Phase 1 and Phase 2. I'm not exactly sure on the numbers. I do think the Shadow is slightly better, but I could be mistaken. Nevertheless, I will be bringing the Shadow in, at least for Phase 1 and Phase 2. Now, I mentioned this because the Purging Staff is still used to deal with the Void Flares. So on Phase 3, when things get hectic, I'm just going to be simply camping the Purging Staff. We bring in the Garazi Rapier as a melee weapon just to deal with the Judge. I don't think we're going to be SGS specking here, as we actually don't really want to heal up for this fight. And again, Eye of Ayak for mage defense reduction. Rest of the inventory is mostly the same as Divine Severance, where we have Anglers and Karambwans, our Restores, Surge Potion, Saturated Heart, and whatnot. However, the key difference here is the Locator Orb and the Guthix Rest I have. Again, the Wretched Strength mechanic, we're going to be purposefully sitting low HP. In fact, on P1 and P2, we're pretty much going to camp at 1 health because we're going to ideally take 0 damage. And then in P3, we do have to find a balance because we will be taking chip damage from the magic and range auto attacks. Unlike Divine Severance, where there's no chip damage, there is chip damage on this one. So yeah, this one's really about teetering on the line between life and death. So the Guthix Rests are going to come in handy for that. Let's talk about what made Bloodied Blows difficult for me. I think this one is obvious. You put yourself at low health, even all the way down to 1 to maximize your DPS. At any given time, you are just 1 mistake from failing, and that is a lot of pressure. With this contract, at first I died quite a bit on Phase 1 and Phase 2. Instances like the red glyph meteor special along with shadow waves occurring at the same time could be pretty tricky to deal with. I eventually learned how to deal with this through trial and error, and eventually I got past the hurdle of the first two phases, and it was just phase 3 left to deal with. Again, phase 3 is where they throw everything at you. You can't sit at 1 HP to maximize damage, as snap attacks now do chip damage to you. You can't sit at too high of a health threshold, otherwise you won't be able to deal with the void flares. So throughout the fight, I'm constantly sipping Guth Express, maybe even eating an angler in emergency situations, and then adjusting my health with the locator orb. Bloodied Blows took me exactly 100 contracts to get my first completion. I would say that this contract took me more attempts than expected due to carelessness in the first two phases, as again, one mistake means failure, and when it came time to phase 3, honestly, it was a lot of nervousness and succumbing to the pressure. Once I became confident in the phase 3 cycle, I was able to stay patient and ultimately get my first clear. Yes! Woo! Alright. Contract of Bloodied Blows, Purifying Sigil, middle. Just as I did with Divine Severance, I went ahead and did a second Bloodied Blows KC on the main before moving onto the Iron. With this second KC, it really confirmed to me personally that I knew how to handle the P3 cycle. There we go, second Bloodied Blows completion just like that. That was easy. Okay, on to the Iron Man. Unfortunately, I didn't one and done this one, and I think failing the first one just shook my confidence ever so slightly as I began thinking about my limited number of contracts on the Iron Man. As such, I failed a few more times, but I eventually regained confidence and steadiness and cleared it in 6 contracts. Woo! There we go, 2 out of 5 on both accounts. Bloodied Blows complete, let's go! For the contract of sensory clouding, let's take a look at the contract terms. Some of the restraints on Yama's strength will be removed. Yama's attacks have increased prayer penetration. Yama can pursue forever. Void Flare explosions are lethal. Challenger has 50% reduced attack range. The Challenger must be alone, and if we succeed, we will receive Purifying Sigil left. Let's get into the gear and inventory setup for the Sensory Cloud contract. Now this one is also an immense amount of pressure, just like Bloodied Blows, although the pressure comes in a different form. This time around, we're not forced to sit at low HP or anything like that. Instead, Yama is forever chasing us, always running towards us, a non-stop pursuit. And well, how do we counteract that? We bring the Scorching Bow. Now, as for our gear, it's mostly the same Max Mage, although we do bring the Light Bearer now instead of the Mage's Ring, as we're going to need that spec energy to constantly use our Scorching Bow. And in our ammo slot, we have Amethyst arrows for the Scorching Bow. The rest of the inventory and the gear remains the same, Purging Staff, and this time around we're just going to go back to camping the Purging Staff rather than bring the Shadow. Honestly, bringing the Shadow is always just a comfort thing, and in this situation, I just opted to use the Purging Staff exclusively. When I was doing research into this contract, I was honestly nervous right from the start, as Phase 1 and Phase 2 requires a step back method that hinges upon proper timing. Once I learned that you can time your step backs off of visual cues of the hit spots on your character, I had no issues with the first 2 phases, other than the odd mistakes here and there. As for Phase 3, I initially followed Red-Eyed Jedi's method to no avail. This is not to discredit him, as this was purely a skill issue on my end, where I just could not execute his strategy for whatever reason. I was stubborn though, and had good faith in his strategy as I followed his guides for the Blorva grind in the past, and even some of the other Yama contracts. Nevertheless, I never got his strategy to work for me, and I wasted an absolute ton of contracts. I then looked into Mulgo Kirby's Sensory Clouding P3 strategy, and his seemed a lot simpler to me. So far in the grind, each contract took me one solid day of learning, and then getting the job done on day number 2. I'd say I wasted the entire day 1 on a strategy that I didn't mesh with, and looked into Kirby's video late in the night. On day number 2, I learned Kirby's strategy, and got my first clear at a total of 132 contracts. Coincidentally, the same number of contracts it took for Divine Severance. I do get the feeling if I learned Kirby's strategy from the start, it would have taken much less attempts. Nevertheless, I went for the second KC to gain confidence before moving on to the Iron Man, just as I did in the previous 2 contracts. Switching over to the Iron Man, I got it done in 2 contracts. Honestly, not much to say about that because once I learned Kirby's strategy, it seemed very simple to me and I must have been overthinking it beforehand. Three out of 5 on both accounts. Here are the contract terms for Forfeit Breath. Some of the restraints on Yama's strength will be removed. Yama drains Challenger's stamina passively. Yama drains Challenger's stamina on dealing damage. Challenger loses upon reaching 0 stamina. The Challenger must be alone. If we succeed, we will receive the Purifying Sigil top. Here's the gear and inventory setup for the Forfeit Breath contract. This one's interesting. It utilizes stamina as a resource, and if your stamina hits 0, well, you're just done for. That is the end of the run. Looking back at our gear here, we are switching back into the Mage's Ring and Radha's Blessing for prayer and Max Mage. We don't need any arrows or anything like that, so we store away the Scorching Bow that was used for sensory clouding. Here we have the Saradomin Godsword as our melee weapon for Yama. Actually, pretty much any of the contracts besides Bloody Blows where we needed low health, we brought the Saradomin Godsword with us just to get extra stat restores with us. We do bring the Eye of Ayek for magic defense reduction, Saturated Heart as usual, and the rest of the inventory fills out the same as all of the other contracts, except we pack our inventory up with stamina potions, as stamina is going to be rapidly draining just by being in the fight, and if you take any damage, you also lose a good chunk of stamina. And once again, do not let your stamina hit 0, otherwise that is the end of the road. One of the Yama combat achievements is to do one of these Radiant Oathplate contracts, and many people recommend doing Forfeit Breath as it's the easiest. Honestly, aside from the stamina stipulation, this contract is very much like a regular solo Yama KC. There are some odd extra waves here and there, but that's pretty much it. There's not too much to say about this one. I actually won and done it on the main account. I was so confident in this that I didn't go for a second KC before attempting it on the Iron Man. As for the Iron Man, well, maybe I was arrogant because I did fail a few times, funny enough. It ultimately took me 4 contracts to do it. I'm going to chalk it up to bad RNG though. Up to you to decide if that's just cope or not. Alright, 4 out of 5 on both accounts. Let's take a look at the contract terms for our 5th and final contract for Radiant Oathplate. Contract of Glyphic Attenuation. Some of the restraints on Yama's strength will be removed. Glyphs protect you for less time and are more punishing. Yama is now weak to crush and nothing else. Challenger's prayer bonus affects their drain rate inversely. Challenger's prayer bonus increases the damage they deal. Challenger must be alone. And if we succeed, we will receive the Purifying Sigil bottom. Looking at the gear and inventory setup here for Glyphic Attenuation, we're looking drastically different than all previous encounters, as those were all mage encounters. This one, however, is melee. So while we do have the Purging Staff that's pretty standard for dealing with Void Flares, we are going to be rocking the Elder Maw as our main hand weapon here. As for our armor, we have a mixed bag of prayer bonuses and just general melee gear. So we're wearing the Sunfire top and legs, and we got the Ring of the Gods, and then we have a Amulet of Blood Fury just for extra healing. Our inventory is absolutely packed with brews and restores. No hard food this time, as we're just going to be eating a lot. We're going to be taking a lot of damage, but we're also going to be doing a lot of damage. Now, Glyphic Continuation was a frustrating one. I'll get into the details as to why, but I'm saying this now because I did flip-flop my inventory and gear quite a bit. I went from wearing my best available crush, which I only have the Inquisitor's top. If I had the option, I would wear full Inquisitors, but I did try a combination of Torva and Inquisitors, as well as the Inquisitor's mace, which I also do own. However, I didn't really find any success in that, so I switched back to the prayer gear, and I even tried slapping on even more prayer gear with the RD cape over the Inferno cape, the Sunfire helm as well. I tried varying combinations and just could not get the job done, but ultimately this setup is what worked for me for the main's completion. As I mentioned, this contract was incredibly frustrating. This is because I very quickly got the general gist of the contract and knew how to execute, but it felt like it came down to a lack of damage on my end while taking an absolute ton of unavoidable damage in return. Each attempt felt like it hinged upon whether my Elder Maul specs landed to have a smooth P1 and P2, setting me up with healthy supplies going into P3. The contract specifically states that high prayer means more damage, but it didn't specify how it affects accuracy, and I couldn't find any information regarding that. Once I did get into P3, admittedly I didn't learn the most efficient methods, and this being my 5th and final contract, I was impatient to learn the more optimal methods. Instead, I stumbled upon a very simple but slow method to do P3. I will say though, regardless of what strategy you employ, this is by far the most drawn out contract of the 5, and I think that I'm not alone in this sentiment. When it comes to the number of attempts, it took me 70 attempts to get my first clear on the main. Despite this number actually being lower than the other contracts that took me over 100, besides the joke that is forfeit breath, that one was really easy, my frustration was at an all-time high with this one. I felt that the attempts were... Oh my god, that was 12 minutes. Glyphic Attenuation done. That means we have Radiant Oathplate completed on the main. I didn't do a second KC of Forfeit Breath because it was easy. But I didn't do a second KC of Glyphic Attenuation because I genuinely thought there was no more learning. And it just came down to execution to the best of my ability, and a bit of good luck. This is reflected in the KC it took on the Iron, as it took me another 31 contracts to get it on that account. Ooh, okay, there we go. First try on a new day. That is Radiant Oathplate complete on the Iron Man. Here we are on both accounts. Got the full Oathplate equipped on each account respectively. I actually have to go buy the full Oathplate helmet on the main. Anyways, let's de-equip the Oathplate. And we're going to use the Purifying Sigil. It's going to cost 2,500 Aether Runes. I have to go craft those on the Iron Man here on Wait For It. But yeah, we're going to use 2,500. I guess we'll do it on the Iron first. Well, let's move on over, stand next to our main here. There we go. That is full Oathplate. Now, before we equip it, let me swap the POV over. Over on the main, you can see I have the Oathplate here as well, the Sigil. Now, these Aether Runes, I simply just had to buy, not a problem. There we go. Now, let's equip them at the same time. Radiant Oathplate on both accounts, the main and the Iron Man. Now, we have the helmet on, but honestly, the Blorva helm goes with it in more situations. Here are the numbers broken down by contract and account. I've mentioned them throughout the video, but here it is together and in its entirety. While we look at this, I guess let me give my final thoughts on the grind and perhaps what I would have done differently. I think the grind overall ended up being more fun than I thought it would. I don't have much of an opinion on Divine Severance, and that could just be because it was the first contract I took on, so my perception may be a bit skewed on that. And despite the overall grind taking me less than a week, it seems like forever ago that I did the first contract. Bloody Blows and Sensory Clouding had levels of frustration, but in a good way. This is because despite all my deaths, I felt like I was constantly learning and improving, and when I finally broke through, it felt rewarding and satisfying. As for Forfeit Breath, at first thought, I feel like you compare it to Awaken Whisper in the sense that it's the freebie of the grinds, but even Awaken Whisper felt harder than Forfeit Breath relatively. I think I spoke enough on Glyphic Attenuation. It was probably the one sore spot of the grind. As for what I would have done differently in hindsight, well, it's Glyphic Attenuation. I probably would have tackled that contract first and taken the time to do more efficient methods to do that contract. I didn't really look into each individual contract until, well, it just came up, I kind of just rolled the dice on which one I want to do first, and then just based on what I've heard from clanmates, Bloody Blows and Sensory Clouding were probably the more difficult ones, so I chose to tackle those kind of early-ish and not leave them for last so that I could have a nice and easy path to Radiant Oathplate near the finish line. But I was mistaken. Glyphic Attenuation caused a lot of personal frustration for me. And obviously this is all opinion based. Some people may find certain contracts easy and others hard, whereas I find different ones to be the case.